Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, what up? This is Rocky Asuka Romero of Chaos, and you are listening to Keepin It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, joined by the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be previewing Best of the Super Juniors 26, answering your questions, and of course, covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Go to socialsuplex.com/subscribe to sign up to get all of our podcasts and columns delivered directly to your email inbox. This episode of Keeping It Strong Style is brought to you by Powerslam.tv. Powerslam TV is an independent wrestling streaming service with over 4,000 hours of wrestling from companies across the world. Use promo code SOCIALSUPLEX to get your first month free. Also, make sure you check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex, and that's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. Shout out to our boy Rambone's Slam Pig, who was rocking his Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt this weekend, enjoying some craft beers.
Yeah, I saw that photo. I was like, oh, snap. Getting over it in these streets. No, yeah, thank you for tweeting that out. That was actually really, really cool. Anytime I see that sort of stuff, I'm just like smiling, you know. I was at the UFC. I was at Winghouse last night watching the UFC show, which that's a whole nother topic I don't want to talk about. Tough night. Bro, every fighter I like lost. Oh, my gosh. Anyways, but yeah, you tweeted that out to me, and I saw that, and I was like, that's really, really, really cool. So, yeah, definitely appreciate that, Rambone Slam Pig. And we're here with the Sunday Night Heat energy.
Yeah. So, you know, Best of the Super Junior tournament is started. We're recording Sunday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern time right now. So Best of Super Juniors will be starting tomorrow, Monday.
Prime time.
Yeah.
Prime time, Keeping It Strong Style.
So, yeah, we wanted to get this out a little bit before the tournament kicked off.
Let's drop it Monday. Let's go head-to-head with Keeping It Strong, or with One Nation Radio.
Well, they dropped it today, but I don't know if they recorded it. Nothing's dropped yet, but
don't they drop Mondays or no?
No, they drop Sundays.
God, we need more. We need a show on Monday so we can usurp them and offend them.
I mean, we could offend One Nation Radio by dropping today after we're done.
Oh snap! Let's do that.
Since they're always like, clowning with which dates we actually drop our shows.
I don't know why it's so confusing for them. Okay, guys, it's real simple. We drop on Tuesdays. We record Monday night. The show never drops Monday during any Monday time zone at all. Like, it drops at most of the time midnight, right?
Yeah.
Midnight, which is Tuesday. You cannot get the show until Tuesday. The good thing is, Rich will hear that. James won't, because he don't listen to our show. But it's real simple. Show comes out every Tuesday.
Yeah. And thank you to everybody who's signed up for our Best of the Super Junior prediction contest.
When is the cutoff?
So by the time you're hearing this, the form will probably be closed since the tournament starts tomorrow.
I got to do mine tonight then.
Yeah.
I haven't done mine. I'm doing mine this year.
Even though, like, I'm not confident in mine at all. Like, I was booking some weird stuff on my thing, and I was like...
I feel super confident. I've got the vision. I know exactly what's going down this year. It's going to be Kushida versus Ishimori in the finals.
Oh, man.
And let me tell you why. Let's go on a 15-minute rant, and I'll tell you why this is happening.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. That was like... Yeah. Anytime... I predict something correctly, let's go back to that and just remind the viewers and the listeners, I am the man who predicted for sure that Kushida Ishimori would be your final next year or last year, and that Ishimori would win, which did not happen.
Yeah. Luckily for people entering, this preview is going to be out before they can...
Oh, yeah, I can't screw with anybody this year.
Yeah.
Like, I can't influence people or mess them up. Like, yeah, it's way different this year.
Yeah. All right, so let's get jumped in on this preview here for Best of Super Juniors 26. And I think the first thing we have to address while talking about this tournament, we had some replacements. Flip Gordon having some visa issues. Did an interview with Fightful.com. If you want the full details on exactly what went down with Flip and why he had issues getting into Japan with the current visa he had and all that stuff, check out that interview on Fightful. But Flip Gordon not able to come to Japan due to some visa issues.
Who's at fault? What happened?
So initially, he was supposed to be on the Honor Rising tour.
Yeah.
And so the visa he had was for the Honor Rising tour. And he was going to be able to get like re-entry for Best of Super Juniors with that visa. But because he never ended up being on the Honor Rising tour, like there was something with the visa that it didn't go through because he didn't come the first.
He didn't come the first time, so he couldn't get re-entry. He only had re-entry approved.
Right, and then I guess like his other visa or something like that was like expired or whatever. He didn't have enough time to like get a new one or something like that.
Well, I mean, he had plenty of time. He's known for quite a while he's going to be on this tour. Do you feel like someone in New Japan dropped the ball, or was it him, or was it Ring of Honor?
I don't know. I feel like maybe there could be both parties at play. Like, I don't know. I feel like they should have like given him the heads up, or somebody should have given him the heads up. Like, hey, you can't use like the re-entry.
Has he been wrestling regularly for Ring of Honor lately?
Since G1 Supercard, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if like he was still harboring the injury or whatever.
Yeah, he's been on the War of the Worlds tour. Him and Bandido actually wrestled the day before he was getting ready to fly out. Both of them were getting ready to fly out.
I was going to say conspiracy theory. What if he didn't get the visa because he's hiding an injury? Like Kerry Von Erich. What if he lost his foot? We don't know about it. That's what this is really about. No, but that's yeah. So somebody dropped the ball here. This seems like one of those really avoidable things that should have been dealt with.
Yeah.
I don't, especially with how many visa issues were going on all year. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like there's no excuse for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
At this point. But I don't know who to blame. I don't know if I'm not saying it's Flip. I don't know if it's Flip. I feel like it could be Flip. It definitely could be, but I don't know if it is, or I don't know if it could be New Japan.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know.
So check out if you want the exact details. Fightful.com has that exclusive interview. Then also, so replacing Flip Gordon is going to be young Lion Ren Narita.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Then we also have El Desperado out of the tournament this year. He broke his jaw during a death match at Taka Taichi Mania against Jun Kasai.
Yo, did you see the gear that he was wearing for that match?
Yes, his new gear, yeah.
Bro, he looked like a freaking G. I was like, this is a Desperado I can really get behind.
Yes.
Belt this man up.
Yes.
Let's go to the finals. Yeah, so after seeing like that, I was like, man, this looks awesome. I still haven't seen that match from Taka Taichi Mania, but I need to. I'm surprised he got hurt, though. It's like, well, maybe I saw the match was only like 7 minutes long, so maybe that's why he might have got hurt in the middle of the match. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen it, and I'm not 100% sure exactly when the injury happened, but yeah. I mean, how wise is it for you to do a death match before a big tournament?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, especially with Jun Kasai.
Yeah, it's like, out of all things you could do, like, that would be the last thing you should be doing before a big tournament.
Yeah, I mean, and that is really unfortunate for both of these guys. Flip kind of getting his first, like, bit of momentum in New Japan during this tournament. Same thing with Desperado. Not to say it was his first time getting momentum, but in all these years, it really felt like he was starting to break out last year at the past tournament. He had a lot going on, riding on as far as momentum is concerned. And then after that, the rest of the year, he was pretty much, after getting an IWGP junior title shot, he's pretty much relegated to the juniors title division, which was fine. And he was still very impressive there. Him and Kanemaru, very impressive. But this kind of seemed like it was a time where they could rejuvenate him and bring him back into the singles fold. And I mean, that's how it is for everybody.
Right, and then we've had Dragon Lee calling out Desperado in the backstage comments, saying he wanted Desperado to be his next challenger. He has unfinished business with Desperado.
They've had heat since last year.
Yeah, and there was a tease last year of a mass versus mass match. So yeah, there's definitely bad blood between Dragon Lee and Desperado, and
it's real. It's real. It ain't a work. It's real.
Yeah, we could have seen that play out in this tournament, but
it did seem like he had a pretty prominent position as far as like the cards that he was placed on and his position each night. Like it did seem like he was poised to have a big tournament. So it's almost like more deflating to not have Desperado in this tournament than it was for Flip, although both of them are big losses. So yeah, it's disappointing stuff, honestly.
Yeah, so Desperado is being replaced by a wrestler by the name of Doki.
No, you said that wrong. It's Dookie. His name is Dookie. Or Doki. Dookie.
I think it's Doki.
It's Doke?
Doki. So like Do like Homer Simpson and Key like Loki.
Where did you get this intel, this information from?
I've been watching videos on NJPW World. They released these 1 minute little interviews with each competitor, and they had the Japanese announcer Doki.
Okay, well say it like that from now on. Every time you talk about it, Doki. Yeah, I'm glad his name is Doki and not Dookie. Yeah. I did not want to spend, several weeks discussing an individual by the name of Dookie. Yeah. That just seemed a little lowbrow for what we call the Ace of Podcasts. I didn't need that defiling our airwaves, so I'm kind of glad. But I don't know much about Doki. What have you learned? What do you know?
So we'll talk about it a little bit more because we're gonna break down each guy. But from what I've been able to gather, kind of guy who's wrestled a lot on Mexican independence. He was on the Taka Taichi Mania show, and apparently he has a relationship with Taichi and obviously Taka Michinoku
and Desperado. Apparently,
yeah, and
from what I've read,
and he's from K Dojo. Wrestles do some stuff in K Dojo also, and so they're billing this as Taichi is the one to kind of bring in Doki and kind of being like the new hired hitman for Suzuki-gun.
Bro, I love Hitman. I love Hitman the video game. I love Bret the Hitman Hart. I like Tommy the Hitman Hearns. I'm all about Hitman. That's my thing.
What about Low-Key?
Nah, we don't talk about him. It's crazy that he's like a pretty well established New Japan vet and stuff, and he never gets discussed when it comes to New Japan. It's like people forget about that whole thing.
Yeah.
But so that's pretty cool. I'm hopefully he's good, man. Hopefully he's good. I couldn't say. I haven't seen too much of him.
Yeah, and I know our boy Muzza, he shot me a match of his, but I haven't been able to watch it yet. I've only been able to see some clips that I saw in the promo packages that they've been doing on New Japan World. So yeah, I haven't been able to watch any of his full matches, but I think I'm going to keep it that way and just kind of be surprised when I see his first match.
Yeah. Shout out to Muzza, actually. I've been chatting him up a bit. Ever since he joined the team, just trying to chat him up a little bit. It's kind of nice to have someone on the team that actually appreciates, Puroresu for a change and not talking about Becky Lynch and Big E's mom, or Big E and Becky Lynch's mom. It's a nice change of pace, but Yeah, he hit me up the other day, and he's like, you know anything about this Enson Inouye Murakami match? And I was like, oh my god, freaking watch that match right now. And he was like, who are these guys? And I was like, tell him about. They're both MMA fighters, like the Inokiism era. And he's like, I don't really watch MMA. Like, I'm not. I was like, trust me, bro. It's like one of the bloodiest like freaking fights. 6 minutes, just watch it. He comes back, he's like, what did I just see? Like. We watched that one Murakami match with him and Nagata.
Yeah.
Murakami's crazy, bro. But he was telling me a bit about Doki. I know he's wrestled with IWRG, which I didn't know still existed. To be honest with you, I was familiar with it from like the mid '90s and I think the '80s too, if I'm recalling correctly. I'm not the biggest lucha person in the world. I know that IWRG had a big like. Puroresu lucha influence. I know like Ultimo Dragon was down there quite a bit. I think he held titles there, and I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho wrestled there too, if I remember correctly. And then he was like, yeah, Doki wrestled there, and I was like, that's still a thing? Like, that still exists? I was like, I didn't even know that. So but yeah, I'm excited to see him, and just hopefully he's good, man. Hopefully this is something where like we look back, we're like, wow, that was a great addition, and not yeah.
And I feel like, he's going to use this opportunity. I would hope he would use this opportunity to kind of like break out and show New Japan management that, he's a guy that they can count on in the future. And maybe he gets a New Japan contract out of this thing.
Maybe. I don't even know like if he's old. I don't know if he's young. I don't know like anything. I know that there's nothing I know about him really. I just know he wears a mask. I know he's wrestled in Mexico. His name's Doki. That's about it.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about him later once we get to the B block.
Before we move on, though, speaking of Ren Narita getting the bid, do you think that it's interesting that we're seeing Ren Narita here and not Shota Umino?
No, I don't think that's too interesting. I feel like Narita has the more junior heavyweight frame, while Umino, he's been packing on a lot of muscle. He was in the New Japan Cup. He's definitely more, New Japan sees him as a heavyweight. So, wasn't too surprised there.
You think it's like kind of like the trade-off, like, Umino got to be in the New Japan Cup, so we're going to give Narita the bid to be in the, the Best Super Junior sort of thing, like tit for tat?
That could be it, but I just feel like Narita just fits the look more than Umino does.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and it's Narita's time to shine, man. It's his time to shine. And that's why I'm going with him to win the Best of the Super Juniors this year.
And we got a question from Facebook from BJ Baker.
That was a joke, by the way.
What's that?
I'm not really taking him as my winner of the Best Super Juniors, obviously.
Well, obviously, I would hope not.
Yeah, but sold it entirely. You're like, let's move on. BJ Baker.
Because I wanted to remember where I was at.
Okay.
Yeah, BJ Baker. He asked, how do you think the replacements will change how B Block turns out?
Well, we're going to give you a full preview of both the A Block and the B Block here, but I think it's going to change it immensely. This is unlike other substitutions. There's other times where you have a substitution and the guy in question who gets moved in kind of could be booked very similarly to how the wrestlers that they're replacing might have been booked. But in this case, I think that it's cause for an entire reshuffling of the B Block. Like, entirely.
We look at the New Japan Cup. David Finlay got hurt, and his replacement was Taguchi, right?
Yeah.
So, similar kind of leveling as far as booking-wise between Finlay and Taguchi. So it's like, yeah, that won't affect the tournament too much. But then you look at it here, Flip Gordon being replaced by Ren Narita. Clearly, if you look based off of last year's performance, they weren't going to book Flip to lose every match this year. But
they weren't going to book him or Desperado.
Right. So, looking at Ren Narita, it's like 99.9% of the chance he's going to lose every single match he has. So that's
likely. That's
going to turn the whole dynamic of that block upside down.
I think it's two things. Because, you can go, competitor for competitor. You could say Flip for Ren Narita and Desperado for Doki. But it's not even that simple. It's like you have two guys who for sure were going to have strong showings in Flip Gordon and Desperado. In my opinion, I would have seen Desperado as being the guy with the much stronger point value come tournament end, maybe even having a potential bid to be in the running for the finals. Not necessarily for sure, but he's got to be one of those guys that's closer than the rest of the field in the B block. So then you exchange them out for a Ren Narita, like you said, who most likely will not get anything above one win. If he gets one win, that would be a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then with Doki, we don't really... He's an unproven commodity. Who knows? They could go strong with him, but he is an outsider. He's an unknown guy.
He's not signed. Like, why would you have an outsider come in and beat some of your top juniors?
They probably will. He'll get similar booking to your CMLL stars and your ROH guys and that sort of thing. So I'm guessing, most likely, he'll be middle of the pack just based on, conjecture and past history. If we're just inferring what will probably happen. Right. But what that means is it's nowhere near comparable to what Flip and Desperado are going to be doing. Mm-hmm. So what that tells me is that it reshuffles everything and in some ways probably benefits some of the other guys in this block, like a Bushi, like a Bandido, like El Phantasmo, and like a Robbie Eagles. Guys who... And I don't know, I haven't even done my blocks yet, but I just imagine that with the reshuffling, the booking of the entire B block is going to be way different. And I'm sure it's been something that has caused a lot of intrigue and maybe even frustration for people who are trying to do their pick'em blocks because they probably had one idea going one way and now everything is completely upside down.
Yeah, I had to pretty much shut down the form and create a whole new form due to the injuries.
Now, I know other pick'em contests that are going on, they just basically said the fairest way to do this is to just give, anytime you had a pick for Flip or anytime you had a pick for Desperado, we're just going to give you the points. Mm-hmm. But I think that this block tournament is too vast and has too many matches that at the end of the day, if you do that, I actually think that's not the fairest way to go about it. I think the fairest way is to just have everybody redo it and just start from scratch at this point. That's what we did. That's what we had to do. I feel like it makes the most sense. And yeah, to answer your question, BJ Baker, I think it changes everything.
Yeah. And so real quick before we start breaking down the blocks, we do have, I'm sure we have some new listeners paying attention to the show. And so if this is your first Best of the Super Juniors.
Welcome, new listeners.
Yes, welcome. If this is your first Best of Super Juniors, this is a tournament. It's a round-robin style tournament split into two blocks. So you have 10 wrestlers in the A block, 10 wrestlers in the B block. Each guy will wrestle each other in their respective block. You get a winner from the A block that will face the winner of the B block to get your tournament winner.
How do you determine who wins the blocks?
So
how do the points work, Jeremy?
So there's a awesome scoring system. So a win, pinfall or submission, is worth 2 points. If they're or count out also, or disqualification. A draw,
any win,
is 2 points. A draw is worth 1 point, and a loss is 0 points.
You know what else is worth 0 points? A no contest.
That's right. There have been times in the past where wrestlers get injured and have to forfeit the rest of the tournament.
Well, that's different. A forfeit is a victory, and the person who gets, if one person forfeits, then that's automatic 2 points to the person who they're facing. Mm-hmm. But a no contest.
Oh, you mean like a double count out?
A double count out, double DQ, a draw, or a no contest. If the referee just calls the match entirely and calls it a no contest, which, believe it or not, has happened before, it's very rare and people always forget about it, is 0 points. No points are awarded to either person.
Yeah, so whoever has the most points in each block at the end of the block will advance to the finals, and it'll be winner takes all from there. If there is a tie for first place, there will be a tiebreaker, and it will go to the winner of the block match. So, for example, if Wrestler A beat Wrestler B and both finished with 12 points, then Wrestler A would advance to the finals.
And we've seen situations like this in the past. For instance, let's say Dragon Lee ends with 10 points, and let's say Teton ends with 10 points. Whoever would have won the match between them during their prospective match during the tournament would win that tiebreaker. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this year's tournament's running from May 13th to June 5th, the finals being in Ryogoku Sumo Hall. That's a pretty big deal because typically the finals would be in Korakuen Hall.
No, last year was Korakuen. In the past, it was actually in a bigger arena. that they were not able to run, so they had to do Korakuen.
Gotcha.
I always forget the name of the arena that they've done in the past. They were running it for quite a few years, and it was actually a big deal that they couldn't last year.
Yeah, so the finals, that's right. The finals last year were in Korakuen, so a much smaller location, so much bigger venue this year, Sumo Hall. That's a pretty big deal for showcasing the juniors. So, all right, now we're going to go...
One last thing I want to mention about the point system, because we are going to get questions about this. We get it every year, and I feel like it'd probably be beneficial to just get it out of the way. Mm-hmm. So people are probably asking us, well, what happens if Dragon Lee ends with 10 points and Tiger Mask ends with 10 points and Sho ends with 10 points, but they all beat one another, so it's a dead tie stalemate? What happens there? The easy answer is don't worry about that, because Gato's not going to book that.
Yeah.
But we get that question every year. There have been some tournaments in New Japan history where things like that have happened, and they've found some sort of way to come up with a new tiebreaker. Usually it would involve like a playoff match between the wrestlers involved, but it hasn't happened in a long time, and they don't have enough time to actually do one of those. So anyone who's wondering that sort of question, what happens if we come to a three-way stalemate, just understand they're not going to book it.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just for anyone, because I know there's someone analytical who's like, well, what happens if it's not happening?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We're getting definitive winners. This is New Japan.
All right, so let's jump into these blocks. We're going to start off with the A block.
A blocko.
The first wrestler we're going to look at is the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Dragon Lee. So Dragon Lee, obviously representing CMLL. This is his third best of the Super Juniors. He was in 2017 and 2018. Dragon Lee's been having a great year thus far. Won the title at Madison Square Garden. Had that successful defense against Taiji Ishimori on Wrestling Dontaku. Plus, he's just been winning belts left and right in CMLL and all over the world. Definitely one of the top juniors here.
One of the top juniors in the world. One of the top luchadors in the world. And at the young age of he's 23 years old?
Yeah.
It feels like he's been wrestling forever. I remember living in New Jersey and watching his matches with Kamatachi from 2015 and thinking, wow, this guy's really advanced. And, that was how many years ago? 4 years ago? And he was 18, 19, and he's just gotten exponentially better. It's crazy.
Yeah. Guys are so talented. Actually, earlier today I was watching his match 2 years ago against Ricochet in that year's Best of Super Juniors.
It's a great match.
Yeah, that match was fire. Dude, I love Dragon Lee. I'm always impressed with him. This guy always, goes balls to the walls when he's out there. And so he's going to have a target on his back in this tournament because he is a champion. And typically in these block tournaments, if a champion gets pinned, whoever pins him usually ends up challenging for that title later on.
Yeah. So that's a pretty key thing there. It's one of the... a lot of times people ask the question if they're unfamiliar with this sort of tournament, well, why is the champion in the tournament? And in recent years, the way that it's generally worked is whoever wins the Best of the Super Juniors tournament typically will get an immediate title shot at the following pay-per-view, which in recent years has been Dominion and is a big show. Wasn't necessarily always the case, although in most cases I would say that whoever won Best Super Juniors was pretty much guaranteed a future IWGP Junior Heavyweight title shot. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, in much the same way that the G1 is to prove who the best heavyweight in the world is at that current time, Best of the Super Juniors is the same thing. So it's not necessarily all about who gets a title shot. It's more so about who is the best of the Super Juniors. And there's no way that you can prove who the best of the Super Juniors is unless you have the champion in that tournament. So it's not solely about winning a title shot. It's more about proving who's the best of the best. And so they always include the champion in that. And Dragon Lee has a big build order, or a big order to a big, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
A big order to fill?
Something like that. Basically, he's got a large task at hand, and like you said, he's going to have a target on his back. And in recent years, Dragon Lee has done phenomenal in these tournaments. He's one of the few CMLL guys that gets mega pushes and gets lots of points and comes very close to winning. As of yet, he hasn't made it to a finals. He hasn't won a Best of the Super Juniors tournament so far. But he always gets very strong booking, and I see that being very much the same way here. He may even be in the finals, potentially.
Right. Going in as a champion, so probably the strongest that he will be going into a tournament. So, yeah, I can definitely see him potentially going to the tournament finals. I mean, there's always a possibility of him winning the whole thing. And, if he wins the tournament as champion, you're probably asking what happens there. Then probably he would get the right to call someone out or challenge. And so we have a question here from Reddit user Zack Sabre Jr. He says, what would you say if Dragon Lee wins the Best of the Super Junior and chooses to challenge Hiromu?
We've discussed this privately, me and Jeremy. This is definitely a scenario that we could potentially see playing out. And I would love it if it did. Obviously, Dragon Lee and Hiromu have a huge storied history. More modern fans and modern listeners of this show and viewers of New Japan are probably familiar with the fact that Dragon Lee and Hiromu had a title match last year that resulted in Hiromu breaking his neck and being put on the shelf. And, we're almost a year later, and we're sitting at a place where Hiromu is due to make a return pretty soon, and Dragon Lee is the IWGP champion. So this is a story that kind of writes itself. But even going beyond that, the Dragon Lee and Hiromu have a long storied history, a long storied rivalry that has spanned multiple continents, multiple promotions, from New Japan to Ring of Honor to CMLL. And they put on some of the best matches. When they were having their series of matches, people were comparing it to Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid, calling it the modern equivalent to that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they have a long storied rivalry. So that's definitely a possibility. And I would welcome it if that happened. I just don't know that it will.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of other, key players in both these blocks that we're about to talk about. But I think that's definitely an option. And, dude, I would be all about that. Dragon Lee and Hiromu, like you mentioned, have some phenomenal matches. And that would be a great addition to the Dominion card that's already lining up to be one of the best shows of the year. So, yeah, that would be great. And if you've never seen Hiromu and Dragon Lee, their 2017 match is the free match of the week on New Japan's YouTube and on NJPW World.
Which match? The title match or the Best of Super Juniors match?
The Best of the Super Juniors.
Ooh, that was a great Best Super Juniors match last year.
So, yeah, so definitely check that out. So the next wrestler we're going to be looking at...
Before we move on, excitement level for Dragon Lee in this tournament.
10.
10?
Yeah.
10. I almost feel like we need to have a ranking system for where our excitement is as far as different guys in this tournament in each block. Just kind of shooting off the hip here.
You want to just do 1 through 10?
Yeah, let's do 1 through 10 out of all the guys in the tournament. So, I know I'm looking at both of us. We've got our list of competitors right here in front of us. And so we can see all 10 guys. And if you had to give him a ranking out of all these guys, what would you rank him?
Oh, so ranking out of all of them.
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so let's put them in order. I think for me, I got to go out of everybody in this A block for potential matchups, potential excitement, potential booking, and everything. For me, Dragon Lee's 9 out of 10. 10 being the top spot and 1 being the lowest. I would say Dragon Lee's my 9.
Yeah, Dragon Lee would also be my 9. I thought we were ranking each guy 1 to 10. But
no, we're gonna put them in a order.
Okay, yeah, Dragon Lee would definitely be my second from the top then.
Second from the top. That's a high bill. So that's a big commendation from Keepin It Strong Style.
So next up, we're gonna look at Rich Latta's favorite wrestler. The Octopus, Jonathan Gresham, representing Ring of Honor. This will be Gresham's first time in Best of the Super Junior. We saw him at the Honor Rising Japan show earlier this year.
So impressive.
Yeah, and pretty much, that kind of set up his spot being here in Best of Super Juniors, just like last year when Flip Gordon debuted at the Honor Rising in a couple of juniors matches. That pretty much set the way for him for being Best of Super Juniors. So, Gresham is a guy who's been all over the place. I mean, currently in Ring of Honor, he's wrestled for Rev Pro, WXW, Chikara, PWG, The Crash, Beyond Wrestling. He's a world travel guy, very technical wrestler. At Final Battle, him and Zack Sabre had a pretty good technical match.
I loved that match. I also enjoyed his match from the Bloodsport show that he had with Takeda. That was one of the best matches on that show. Really, really impressive stuff. His stuff with CCK this year has been excellent. Stuff in Ring of Honor has been excellent this year. Jonathan Gresham is having a breakout year.
Yeah, he just had a PWG title match on Friday night against Jeff Cobb, which I heard tore the house down.
Oh, yeah, they had Mystery Vortex 5, huh?
Yeah. Which
I wonder how that show was.
From what I hear from Meltzer and some other people, it was a pretty good show. Not the best show, but it was still a pretty solid show. Cobb and Gresham tore the house down. Cobb retained the PWG title against Gresham.
Well, at least he's retaining something.
Yeah.
Man's taking all the belts off that man.
Yeah. So, Gresham here. What are you thinking about Gresham?
I am very, very excited for Jonathan Gresham's inclusion in this tournament. I think that when people consider the best of the Super Juniors or just cruiserweight wrestling in general or junior heavyweight wrestling, they kind of think of one thing. They think of high speed. They think of flips. They think of, tons of dazzling aerial maneuvers. And all of that is definitely indicative of the genre and of the division. That's totally true. But me being an old school fan, I remember days where there was all sorts of different styles within the junior division. And one of those styles that is a little less underplayed and a little less underutilized is that of dazzling technical alchemist. Someone who can tie you into knots, someone who is proficient in technical wrestling. Mm-hmm. That's what Jonathan Gresham brings to the table. Many people liken him to a young Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, just because so much of what he does is borrowed from Bryan Danielson, from his look, from his style of wrestling. And he's one of the few guys in the tournament who is strictly that way. I mean, you do have some great technical wrestlers in this tournament, but he's that guy that kind of stands out and sticks out for representing that. And he brings a total different wrinkle, a total different vibe and feel to this tournament that I felt like was missing. I'm very, very excited for him to be in this.
And, yes, he is all technical, that you kind of mentioned, but he does throw in some high flying. Shooting star press is one of his finishing moves.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and he does a lot of suicide dives, hurricane ranas. So
that's not to say he can't brawl or he isn't an aerial guy or anything like that. But with someone like Kushida leaving the tournament and kind of leaving that void, and we haven't seen a Kyle O'Reilly in this tournament for several years. Mm-hmm. I really think Jonathan Gresham brings something different to the table. I'm very excited for that. Yeah. Last year I really loved the show match with who was that? Was that Show and Kushida? They had that technical match I loved.
Yeah.
And Show's in the same block, and I can't wait to see what him and Jonathan Gresham do when they chain wrestle. Him and Marty Scurll. Marty not always showing it, but being someone who is very proficient in the world of sport style wrestling. I think him and Jonathan Gresham can do something special. I'm very excited for Gresham to be in this.
So where is he at in your ranking?
I would have to go at this point right now. I think he is number 7 for me.
Wow, okay.
Pretty high. There's very few people in this block that I'm more excited about.
Gotcha. So for me, I have him at 5.
Ooh, middle of the pack.
Yeah.
That's because you're friends with Rich. You're better friends with Rich than I
am. No, there's just a few more guys ahead of him that I was way more excited about in this block. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I got Gresham at. So next up, we're going to look at the villain, Marty Scurll, who will be representing Ring of Honor and Villain Enterprises. This is his third Best of the Super Juniors tournament. He was in 2017 and 2018. He's calling this the Revenge of the Villain because it's third time in the tournament, and he plans on taking it all.
Now, I know that you listened to the... I haven't gotten a chance to watch... Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I have chosen not to watch the Best Super Juniors press conference so far. But you have, correct?
Right.
I should have, but I've just been slacking. But you definitely were able to listen to the promos from a lot of these guys. I know last year Marty killed it when he was during the press conference. Anything notable from him?
Yeah, so he said, this year is going to be different. Like I mentioned, he called it Revenge of the Villain. He said, this year it's all about him. There are no clubs, no distractions. It's he's going to be, it's pretty much all on him to win this thing. He talked about Villain Enterprises kind of being at its best. They are scouting a fourth member for Villain Enterprises, saying the stock is high because they are currently the ROH Six-Man Championships. PCO and Brody King are the NWA Tag Champions, just won the Crockett Cup. Marty and Brody King also hold the tag titles from Australia. I forget which company it is.
Super World of Sport, SWS.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of belts, and so he said, Villain Enterprises they're going to be scouting for their fourth member on this tour.
We need to tweet them. We need to tweet them, tell them that John Juris is ready to lace up the boots again. Yeah. He's got his tape ready, his baby oil, and he is ready.
And he mentioned that Brody King will be on the tour with him for the tag matches. And so, that was pretty much kind of the gist of his promo.
So I would imagine that you're more excited about Skrull in this tournament than I am.
Yes, I am a huge Marty Skrull fan. I love the villain. I love the entrance, the music, his wrestling. To me, Marty, I think sometimes is kind of one of the more underrated guys when it comes to like the New Japan Junior matches. If you look back, a lot of his junior title matches with guys like Ospreay and Hiromu and some of the guys he's wrestled, like just phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
So as far as ranking, I have Marty at 7.
I have Marty at 6. So kind of flip-flopped there just a bit. He's just a notch beneath Jonathan Gresham for me. So I concur everything you're saying. I agree with you. But I have to say a couple derogatory, not so much derogatory, but I need to take a step back. One thing with Marty, in recent years, we haven't, in the big matches, in title matches, he has been phenomenal. And this year so far, he's had a lot of great multi-man matches in Ring of Honor. He seemed to be reinvigorated and have something to prove since the rest of the elite guys went to AEW and he stuck around in ROH. He had a fantastic showing at the G1 Supercard this year during that ladder match. Really, really great match with
Nick Aldis.
With Nick Aldis at the Crockett
awesome.
Cup.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, Marty is not a full-time regular member of New Japan's roster the way he has been in the past. The other thing as well is last year, he seemed to take it very easy on this tour. And one of the big criticisms about Marty is that Marty is a worker who knows how to kind of turn it on when it needs to be turned on, but when it doesn't need to be turned on, it's really not turned on. He's a guy who has a great gimmick, who has a great look, who has a shtick, and he kind of sticks to it, and he can get by off that, and he can get over off that without having to work, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the Great Muta made a whole career out of that. Hulk Hogan made a whole career out of that, and so there's definitely something to be said about a guy who knows how to kind of maximize his health benefit without having to put his body on the line every night. But in this tournament, it does seem to be sometimes that it's a time for guys who are hungry to prove themselves. And I will say, last year, Marty was like middle of the road. He had a couple really great matches. I remember the match with Hiromu specifically sticking out as being a great match. But nothing else really comes to mind. There's very few matches that I thought, like, man, Marty's killing it in this tournament. He seemed to take it easy. So if Marty shows up and does what we know he's capable of, and he's reinvigorated and he's hungry, then I'll be all on board with him, and I'll be like, yeah, absolutely. But I was even surprised to learn he was going to be in this tournament, given the fact that he seemed to be focusing on being like a main event player, a heavyweight guy, and I didn't even think he would even be in this tournament. So when they announced him, I was actually I was happy about it, but I was kind of surprised about it at the same time.
Gotcha. I wasn't too surprised. I mean, I feel like New Japan holds Marty still up in high regard, and
I do too,
and sees him as the top junior. And the biggest mystery in wrestling right now is when is Scurll's contract up. I've been hearing
nobody knows.
I've been hearing different months, different dates from multiple sources. Nobody has the exact idea of when his contract is going to be ending. And so with him doing the Crockett Cup stuff with Ring of Honor in April, and the fact that he's still ROH 6-man champion, I figured that they would keep using him and that he would be in Best of Super Juniors.
Okay, so Marty has a lot of intriguing matchups in this tournament. They're not necessarily all matchups we haven't seen. In fact, a lot of the matchups in this tournament we have seen before. Mm-hmm. I think one thing that's intriguing is the fact that he was kind of the premier junior of the Bullet Club before all the splits and everything, and then Taiji Ishimori kind of stepped into that role. They are in the same block. So there's kind of a story to play off there with Taiji Ishimori kind of being one of the mainstays of the junior division, and Marty kind of being that former Bullet Club guy who was filling that role previously. Mm-hmm. I think that's very interesting. But there's not a lot here that are fresh new matchups that we've never seen before when it comes to Marty.
Yeah.
One thing I want to bring up, so we haven't talked about this yet, and I think we can say, and I think we should discuss it with every guy. What do you think? And I think we should just go with a yes or a no because it's the simplest answer. Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's even a chance that Marty will be towards the running to be one of the guys that are in the finals?
I say yes.
I would say yes as well. I think it's more of an outside chance, but I think he is one of the guys who has a chance to be either at the top of the block when it's all said and done, or maybe even get a bid to be in the finals.
Yeah.
Although I'm not super high on that.
Yeah, I feel like it could be one of those situations where he wins like on the A block final, then like in the main event, if somebody else wins, then
beat him, he might tie with points and get knocked out.
Yeah. So
Jonathan Gresham, yes or no?
No.
I would say no. Dragon Lee?
Yes.
Yes. So far out of the three guys we've reviewed, we've got Marty Scurll and Dragon Lee as being two guys that we think could potentially be, potential guys to look at towards the end there. Any final thoughts on Marty?
No, I think I'm ready to move on to the next guy.
Okay.
Which we'll be talking about the Dragon, Shingo Takagi, representing Los Ingobernables de Japón. This will be Shingo's first year in the Best of the Super Junior tournament. And I'm just going to get off the bat right now. 10,
Shingo's my 10.
Yeah.
Shingo's my 10. I'm so excited for Shingo to be in this tournament.
Yeah, so, Shingo made his debut at last year's King of Pro Wrestling to become the 6th member of LIJ. And since there, he's just been blazing a trail throughout the junior tag division with Bushi, winning the titles. And, right now he's still undefeated. He has not been pinned or submitted in any matchup in his time in New Japan. And he's definitely the favorite, one of the favorites to win the A block in the whole tournament.
I agree with everything that you just said. I think that it's funny. There's definitely Shingo's a name that people are familiar with, but unless you really follow the Dragon system, unless you are watching, Dragon Gate USA and that sort of thing, you might not be as familiar with Shingo. I know that I only had a peripheral understanding of who Shingo was, and I feel like even with that, like my exposure to him was probably greater than a lot of just casual fans. When he came to New Japan, a lot of people did not know who he was. A lot of people were not familiar with his work, his body of work, and he's not a spring chicken. He's not a young guy. He's been wrestling for quite a while. He's been a big star in Japan for quite a while. He's been all over the U.S. Indies, and I always thought it was funny when he was announced as the new member of LIJ, how many fans were like, who? This guy? And now it's a year later, and everybody's riding this guy's jock. Everyone's like, oh my God, Shingo is freaking awesome, because they had to learn, Shingo is dope as hell.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm at a 10. Shingo's the guy that I'm most excited for. And the interesting thing is, Shingo's only had, correct me if I'm wrong, one singles match in his whole entire run with New Japan.
Against Shota Umino, right?
Shota Umino. So we're getting 9 fresh matchups that we have never seen before. Unless, there's a chance that maybe him and Tiger Mask have wrestled before, or Kanemaru, or Michinoku, or even Ishimori. It's possible. But my depth of knowledge when it comes to like independent, Puroresu is a little more limited than my knowledge of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Mm-hmm. So to me, these are all fresh matchups. I've never seen him wrestle any of these guys before.
So I have a question here from Reddit user Fenbops. He says, can you see anyone but Shingo winning Best of Super Juniors? And if he does, can he go after a different title as he suggested?
That's a great question, Fenbop. So what he's mentioning, and I was hanging out with a friend of the show, Zach Porter, yesterday, doing a little tasting tour. We were going around St. Pete, going to the different breweries, getting a little taste, having a good time, which was awesome. We also had... we went to an Italian market and had a bunch of like awesome sandwiches, and we went and got sushi. It was a pretty good day. But he showed me the tweet where Shingo was basically saying that he has a chance to go undefeated in this tournament. And if he goes undefeated, not only will he make history, but he suggested that he might be able to just go after another title. He's not necessary. So that's what we were mentioning earlier. The whole rule of whoever wins this tournament generally gets a IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship title shot. It's not a hard and fast rule.
Right.
It's not like they're carrying a briefcase around for months and defending their title shot. It's not like the G1.
Right.
So there could potentially be room for something like that. But I'll tell you, I think it's a red herring. I think if he wins this, he's getting a junior title shot. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he is my favorite to win the tournament right now.
Yeah, same here.
Do you think... So that means we're both a yes on Shingo. We both think Shingo has a very high likelihood of winning the entire tournament.
I'm not just a yes. I'm a hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, man. I'm just ready to see Shingo just murder everybody.
Bro, Shingo's gonna fuck people up.
Shingo's gonna kill you. Shingo's gonna kill you.
Now here's a question that I have, and it's been posed by a lot of people, and we've had some discussions about it off the air, but I think we need to discuss it. Do you think there's a chance that Shingo goes undefeated here, gets 18 points?
I think there is a chance. I think you laugh, but I know we've talked about it, and it kind of takes the drama out of things. If you have somebody go undefeated, you get to the A block finals, they have 18 points. It's like, what's the point of watching? We know they're going to the finals. But the way that they've built him up and the tear that he's been on, I literally have a hard time. I cannot visualize him getting pinned or submitted by anyone in this block.
So we should probably discuss this for a minute while we're on the subject, and I'm going to answer exactly what you just said, and I agree with you to some degree, but I think it's also a little over the top. So the blocks have been expanded. So we have a larger field, a larger tournament than we normally do. We've got 10 guys in each field. We already discussed earlier, you get 2 points for each tournament win. So if someone were to hypothetically go undefeated, and they win 2 points in every block, they're getting 18 points. Realistically, in most cases, the winner of the tournament doesn't take more than 3 losses.
Right.
If you go beyond 3 losses, your chances of winning the tournament are exponentially diminished and very unlikely unless they do a lot of 50-50 and parity booking.
Which they probably won't do.
Well, they might. You never know. Like, you just never know. But right. What that means is whoever is going to the finals has to have, at minimum, 10 points. Minimum. It's more likely they're going to have something between 12 and 16 would be my guess. That's right. Going to get you in the conversation. 6 to 8 wins in the tournament is gonna be like where you need to be. I'll tell you what, and we'll talk about it later. We're gonna talk about matches that are worth looking at, but on the final night of the A block, the final match in the main event is Shingo Takagi against Taiji Ishimori, who are two of the favored guys in this tournament. There's no way that Shingo could potentially be at 16 points going against Taiji Ishimori on the final night of the tournament, because at that point, he would win the tournament. Mm-hmm. He would. The only way that would potentially... The only way that there wouldn't be drama there is if Taiji Ishimori is at 14 points and would beat him and be brought up to 16 points and gets the win. That's the only way. So there is a case to be made where Shingo goes undefeated, but then Ishimori has to have 14 points going into the finals and needs to defeat him to basically get the tiebreaker and get the draw. That is a possibility. Mm-hmm. If you do that, then Shingo wins and finishes undefeated. Then you can book it with a little bit of drama. But you have to. The only way it would work if he's undefeated is you keep somebody close enough in point values to where they're also potentially gonna win the tournament. But if Ishimori, let's say, goes in with 12 points and he's at 16, then then it's done. That's not the way Gato books. It's not the way almost anybody books. I mean, we saw what happened this past year with Kenny Omega, where he was undefeated going into the last two nights of the G1, and then he had the match with Yano and the match with Kota Ibushi. That's, like, to me, the closest you could possibly get to somebody going undefeated in a tournament. Now, I could see a scenario where they have played this up, where they've talked about Shingo being undefeated. Although he's been on the losing team in multi-man matches, although he's been, on the losing side of tag matches, he personally has never been defeated.
Right. He has not been pinned or submitted.
Now, if you wanted to do something where he goes to time limit draw with a guy, if you wanted to go to a scenario where there's a no contest or a double count out or a double DQ, and that's how they protect his undefeated streak, meaning he's never been tapped, pinned, or submitted, then there might be some sort of gray area there, because he could take a points deficit without actually getting quote-unquote beat.
Right.
That's something I could see happening. But the only way he's going undefeated in the tournament is if Taiji Ishimori is going into the final night with 14 points.
Which I could see that happening.
I could see that.
He was in the finals last year.
I could definitely see that happening. I'm not saying it won't happen, but now that I've kind of said that, it does lead me to think, is there a chance he could go completely undefeated? Yes, but with the caveat that Ishimori's got to beat almost everybody the whole tournament for that to even be a possibility.
Yeah, which I could see that happening.
That would be a big statement, though, if Shingo goes in to the finals undefeated. I mean, a big statement, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you pretty much just, create a star right there. I mean, he's already a star, but, you just take him to a whole other level.
Well, that's one of the things that they're great about doing. Best of Super Juniors is about creating stars. We've seen them do it with Ricochet. We see them do it with Will Ospreay. We see them do it with Kushida. We see them do it with tons of guys time and time again. It's one of those things that, we complain about other companies not being able to make stars, and we wonder why, but you don't have them placed in meaningful situations. And, I know, for instance, WWE doesn't like to do tournaments too much, but, man, if you do a tournament correctly,
right,
you can get a guy over super quick in a fast
and not even the tournament. Just look at the way he's booked from the time he debuted. He's been protected for his whole run. If you protect a guy, keep him, unpinned, unsubmitted for, 8-10 months, a year, you create a star. You're making a guy.
Shingo is by far the most intriguing person in the A block, maybe the whole tournament, because of the aura of invincibility, because of his record, because of the fresh matchups that we have never seen before. So there's a built-in anticipation, and there's so many questions about, not about whether he's going to win, but whether, if he does win, does he go undefeated? Now, with that being said, before we move on, do you see scenarios where you think Shingo could take losses? Because I think that I could for sure.
Yeah. When I look at this A block, there's really only 3 people that could potentially beat him. He could potentially lose to Sho on the opener. That's kind of been the big rivalry going on between LIJ and Roppongi 3K, and Sho and Shingo have been at each other's throats for a long time now. And Sho has been proven to be able to kind of match Shingo's strength at times. So that could potentially be, and that would be a big upset, and that could happen. I could see Taiji Ishimori potentially beating Shingo, former champion.
Now, if that happens, Ishimori's going to the finals.
Yeah.
Because it's the final night. But I agree with you.
And then the last person would be Dragon Lee.
Those are my three most likely people to beat him as well.
Dragon Lee is the current champion. If Shingo's not going to win the tournament and not get a title shot, then you're going to want Dragon Lee to beat him.
So right now we are at a yes for Shingo, a yes for Skrull, and a yes for Dragon Lee as guys to look out for to be towards the top of the block. Let's move on to Sho since we brought him up.
Yes, so Sho, one half of Roppongi 3K. This will be his second best of the Super Junior. Last year was his debut, 2018. He's one half of the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions with his partner Yo, who is in the B block. Sho had a pretty great tournament last year.
He had an excellent tournament last year. He had great matches across the board. Great matches with Marty Scurll. Great matches with Dragon Lee. Great matches with Kushida. Him and... I even remember him and... who's the guy that you like that's not in the tournament this year?
Chris Sabin.
Him and Chris Sabin had a pretty good match last year. Sho was a standout of the tournament for sure last year.
Yeah. Even though he only had 6 points last year.
Yeah, he took a lot of losses. It's not as unimpressive as it would... Now, if he only won 3 matches this year, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, he's definitely been elevated since last year.
I agree.
So, yeah, I mean... Sho dyed his hair black. A little new look for this tournament.
Yep, and him and Yo have both been in the habit for different tournaments to bring out different variations and styles of their signature looks. More recently, Sho and Yo have kind of gone back to the classic silver and exclusively silver and gold Roppongi 3K attires that they've had. So I have a feeling that both of them will probably bring out a new look this year for the Best Super Juniors, which I look forward to, especially the big indicator, like you mentioned, him having jet black hair instead of having the dyed blonde, which, by the way, do you think I could pull off that dyed blonde look?
You should try it.
Don't tell me to try it.
But yeah, interesting, some of the comments from Sho, he's hoping it's him versus Yo in the finals.
Very interesting. That's something I was going to bring up. He's not in the same block as Yo, and he's not in the same block as Rocky Romero, which means we're not getting that, anticipated Sho-Yo match that some people have been looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
Unless they're in the finals.
Right.
Or it could be him and Rocky.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think they're definitely going to save that Sho and Yo big singles match. Both of them have said that they want to face each other in the finals. So that's kind of an interesting scenario right there.
Just like Bushi and Hiromu thought that they were going to face off in the finals last year.
So where does your excitement stand for Sho?
Very excited for Sho. Very, very, very excited. For me, I would say he's like number 5.
I have him at 6.
So you're more excited for Sho than Jonathan Gresham?
Yes.
So it looks like our bottom of the list is pretty similar.
Yeah.
But, yeah, for Sho, I'm very, very, very excited. He had an excellent showing, as we mentioned last year. A lot of great matchups here. A chance to prove himself and kind of differentiate himself. There was a lot of discussion last year about who the Shawn Michaels of the group was between him and Yo.
Yeah, we called them Sho Michaels. And Marty Yonetti.
And, I think Sho, it's interesting that they've got Sho in the same bracket as Shingo. We've talked ad nauseum about the rivalry between them. They are facing off on the first night of the tournament, which is tomorrow, which is very exciting. Him and Dragon Lee being in the same tournament block with just the fact that Dragon Lee is the champion. Him and Marty Scurll, him and Ishimori. He's in there with a lot of big hitters, which is probably a testament to the faith that New Japan has in him. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who it's going to be over. I haven't done my brackets yet, but I'm telling you, he's going to beat one of these big guys. Whether it's Ishimori, Skrull, Dragon Lee, or Shingo, he's beating at least one of them. And it's going to be a big upset, and it's going to propel him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
I don't know how far he'll be towards the end of it. Do you think that there's a chance that Sho is one of the guys that's in the running to be in the finals?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well. I'm right there with you. There was a time where I thought that there was a chance, an outside chance, that maybe they would push him in that manner. And I still think he's going to do phenomenal in this tournament, have not only great matches, but rack up quite a few points. But even with that being said, it still seems to be that they are pushing him as a junior tag guy. I don't know if they're ready to pull the gun on him as being a singles. And with the amount of big stars that are here, they would really have to propel him in a way that they're probably not going to. And with the looming specter that is Shingo just being there, I don't see him as being a guy that's going to be towards the finals. What I do see, though, is him either beating a champion like a Dragon Lee or a future champion like a Shingo and potentially establishing a chance to get a title shot down the road. But I don't see him being a guy that'll be there at the finals.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that, man. So next up, we're going to talk about the Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori. This will be his third Best of the Super Junior tournament. He had his first tournament in 2010, and then last year was his second tournament where he went to the finals against Hiromu Takahashi.
In an all-time classic match with Hiromu. And if you haven't seen the match between Hiromu and Taiji Ishimori for the Best Super Juniors finals last year, go out of your way, watch that match, thank us later, be sure to tweet us.
At KI Strong Style. But Ishimori, he's had a great year, starting with Wrestle Kingdom 13 when he won the junior championship from Kushida. Then he had successful defenses against Taguchi and Jushin Thunder Liger, eventually losing the belt last month at the G1 Supercard to Dragon Lee in that triple threat match, and then lost in a excellent title rematch against Dragon Lee at Wrestling Dontaku. So been having a lot of great matches, has been positioned in high spots, and I would say he's one of the favorites to win the A block and potentially win the tournament.
I agree. So right now, Ishimori was a guy that I expected for sure to be, from the time he won the title at Wrestle Kingdom in January, to go into this tournament as the champion. I was very surprised to see that Dragon Lee would be the person that dethroned him. I didn't expect that at the G1 Supercard, but that's where we're at. So he's coming off of a big loss at Dontaku to Dragon Lee in his bid to regain the title. So he has a lot to prove right now. He's definitely got a chip on his shoulder, but you've got to imagine with the kind of push that he's had over the past year, he's one of the favored guys in this tournament, and he's going to do very well. Not only that, he's going to have a lot of great matches. We saw him have a whole slew of first-time singles matches in the tournament last year, and we're getting a lot of new, fresh matchups this year as well. I'm very excited for Taiji Ishimori. One of the fastest and most athletic heels in wrestling today.
Yeah, lightning quick, super fast. So that sliding German that he does is awesome.
The outside the rope sequences he does.
Oh
right?
yeah,
they're just awesome.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing Taiji in action. I have him at number 8 in my excitement level.
I am at number 8 with him as well. So for me, it's Shingo, Dragon Lee, Taiji Ishimori, Jonathan Gresham, Sho, then Marty.
Yeah, so I have Shingo, Dragon Lee, Ishimori, Marty, Sho, and Gresham.
Nice. So any last things you want to talk about Taiji Ishimori? I think we are both in agreement that we think that he has a chance to be one of the guys towards the finals.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a key player, especially since he is in that A block final night, the main event of the A block finals.
So at this point, I think we are both in agreement that there's only really 4 players on the A block side that have a good chance to be towards the top or even win the A block in Dragon Lee, Marty, Shingo, and Taiji Ishimori.
Yep.
Okay.
So now let's talk about the pin eaters. So first we have Taka Michinoku representing Suzuki-gun. So this will be Taka's 7th Best of the Super Junior tournament. He was in 1994, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2017. So Taka is back in action here in the Best of the Super Junior tournament.
Guess who's back? Taka's back again.
So he picked up that win recently against Tiger Mask and that multi-man to kind of build some momentum.
Wow, he beat Tiger Mask 4. Man, sound the alarms like that. I don't even know why he's not getting a title shot. He might as well just bypass his tournament.
Yeah, in 2018 he didn't score a single fall the whole year.
In the whole tournament?
Just in the year 2018.
He didn't win a single match?
Yeah.
Wow. It did feel like when he beat Tiger Mask, I was like, whoa, Taka won something? That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So
based off history, you're kind of saying that you don't see him doing very well in this tournament.
Yeah. In the 2017 run, he only scored 4 points.
That being said, I could definitely see Taka being one of the spoilers in this tournament. You always have to consider guys who could potentially be spoilers, meaning that they're not going to be near the top. They'll probably get knocked out of the running for winning the tournament early on, but given Taka's tenure with New Japan and his legendary status as a legendary junior, it's believable and possible, especially having a strong finisher like the Michinoku driver. Mm-hmm. I could see him hitting a Dragon Lee, well, maybe not Dragon Lee, but like a Skrull or a Ishimori and like getting an upset win and knocking someone out of the ring, or even a Show or something like that, or a Gresham. So he's a guy to look out for as a spoiler, I think. Yeah, and it's been kind of weird with what they've kind of done with Taka and Kanemaru, which we'll talk about later. But they had like these little 1 minute interviews that they put up for each guy. Like during Taka's, Taka, Kanemaru, and Desperado are all at a restaurant, drinking, eating, talking about the tournament. And Taka's like, I'm in this tournament? He's like, are you sure? He's like, what am I doing in this tournament? He's like, fine, I guess I'll do it. He's like, I'm just here to spoil everybody. He's like, yeah, he's like, I don't care. All these people, they're mad that I'm in the tournament. I don't care. Don't watch then. He's like, they're probably not going to come watch you. Fine, I'll wrestle in an empty arena. I don't care. Expect a lot of shenanigans. Expect a lot of cheating. Eye pokes, slow blows. Taking guys to the outside, going into the crowd, a lot of chair shots. This is going to be one of those guys that I don't expect Taka to have a great match in this tournament. I think it is interesting, though, that him and Kanemaru, being the older, crustier, juniors of the of LIJ, are in the same block. So that's something that's interesting. Yeah. We had a question from someone in our group chat, and they were asking what was the match where two juniors were in the Best Super Juniors tournament and they weren't touching each other the whole time. Sir Sam. Oh yeah, Sir Sam asked us that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Taka and Taichi. And I went back and I didn't watch the whole match, but I'm pretty sure that's the match, which was really funny. So maybe look out for Kanemaru and Mitch and Taka to have another match similar to that. But Taka's going to be playing spoiler, and I'll tell you what, I think he's going to be at the bottom of the points total when everything's said and done. Yeah. One of the bottom two guys for sure. So where do you have him at your rankings of excitement? 1. Maybe 2. Yeah. Pretty low. Yeah, I think I'm at 2 with him also. I'd go 2. Yeah. All right. Anything else on Taka? No, we spent a lot of time on him. Too much time. All right. So next up, the Golden Tiger, Tiger Mask 4, and he's been in quite a few Best of the Super Junior tournaments. He was in 2002, 2003. He won it in 2004 and 2005. The only man to win back-to-back Best Super Junior tournaments ever. Yep. He was also in 06, 07, 08, 09, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and last year's tournament in 2018. So one of the most seasoned vets and most experienced guys when it comes to this tournament going today. I think he was in the finals in 2006 as well, which was kind of a big deal. But, man, Tiger Mask is old. We know that last year he had this really interesting run in the beginning of the tournament where he went on a 3-win streak, which people did not expect because in years past he had like 1 or 2 points and was always at the very, very bottom. I kind of expect that to resume. I don't see him going on one of these old men nostalgia runs again. Although it was fun to see him do that, he was very, very reinvigorated during the tournament last year in the beginning. He had some really, I wouldn't say great matches, but good matches.
Better than you would expect.
Bro, I loved the Kanemaru Tiger Mask match last year.
Just the 2 grumpiest dudes just going at each other.
They did a lot of interesting and fun stuff. No one seemed to love that match as much as me. I do give it a recommend. I really liked Tiger Mask and Kanemaru last year. They were using the young boys as weapons. And hitting each other with young lions, throwing each other into them, which was really cool. But I don't have a lot to say about Tiger Mask. He's just kind of there. And that's about it.
Yeah. Expect him to, get maybe 1 or 2 upsets, I think, going around this year. But yeah. I mean, he's probably going to end up, probably like 6 points, something like that.
I don't even think that. I think if he gets 2 wins, that'll be kind of a big deal. I think he'll be at the bottom. I do see this as being a tournament where there'll be several guys very low, and the rest of the field will be right in the middle at the top with very similar point values, kind of battling it out at the end. And I think Tiger Mask can be at the bottom. That's my prediction.
Yeah. All right, so next up, we'll be talking about Teton from CMLL. This will be his second Best of the Super Junior tournament. His first tournament was in 2013, so it's been a few years since we've seen Teton in this tournament. We've seen him on the Fantastica Mania tours, the CMLL New Japan tours that happens every January. Teton, another great high flyer. Also can be technical at sometimes too. He's also done a lot of stuff on some of like the War of the World, Ring of Honor tours also. So yeah, how are you feeling about Teton?
I am feeling indifferent about Teton being in this tournament. They always need to have a good CMLL representative. Teton seems to be one of those guys who can come in and have very good matches, competent matches, but he's not overly pushed, so he's not like like a Mystico or I don't even know what's Sin Cara's name nowadays. Is it Mistez's or is it Caristico?
Caristico, yeah.
Yeah, he's not a Caristico level guy or anything like that. So he is a guy who can take losses, and I don't think he did very well in his last Super Juniors. He's kind of filling the void that Volador has filled in previous years. Mm-hmm. CMLL guys, historically, unless their name is Dragon Lee, don't do very, very well in these tournaments, so I don't expect him to get a lot of points. I do think that he'll have exciting matches, especially with him and Dragon Lee, him and Sho, him and Ishimori. Those are all matches I look forward to. So it's kind of nice to have him there. He's definitely a great high flyer, but he's not like someone that, like, when I'm like, oh my god, Teton's going to be on this card. I would have actually rather them have brought in like, who's the young guy that was in the tag tournament?
Soberano?
I would rather them bring in Soberano or like
should have brought in Barbaro.
Or like, oh yeah. Well, Barbaro Cavernario been in this tournament before, and I would love that, but I think he's too big. I think he'd have to do well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or like a Stuka Jr. Someone who's a little less familiar, but the fans know Teton. He's a popular guy, and he'll do fine, but I'm not like overly excited. I'm probably at a 4 with him.
Yeah, I also have him at 4 also. So next up, the Heel Master, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, representing Suzuki-gun. This will be his third Best of the Super Junior tournament. He was in 2017 and 2018. 23-year pro. He's been in New Japan, All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah. One of the, we mentioned earlier, one of the grumpiest guys on the New Japan roster.
And we always have to bring it up. The most decorated Noah Jr. in history. One of the true legends of their junior division over there. That hasn't necessarily translated to immense success in the junior division here in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but very recently him and Desperado came off of a very long, successful junior title reign that kind of dominated the junior division in 2018.
Yeah. And, we kind of talked about, Taka being kind of crafty. Well, Kanemaru is going to be real crafty. He's going to have the Satori surprise, that whiskey that he drinks and spits in people's faces.
Yes.
He's going to be doing all kind of low blows and roll-ups and feet on the ropes.
When you talk about spoilers, Kanemaru is a spoiler. He's a guy who can beat a Dragon Lee or anybody on.
He gets overlooked.
Yeah, he's going to be overlooked. He's definitely someone that you need to pay attention to. And I also say this, we talked last year about how great Desperado was and how he really stepped up his game and broke out and done a lot of things. Kanemaru in recent months and over the past, I'd say 6 months, has really impressed me in his multi-man matches. And it's like he's been very reinvigorated. And I have a feeling, I don't want to go jump the gun and be like, he's going to have a great tournament. But I think he's going to have a better than expected tournament, and he's going to put on some pretty good matches, I would say.
Yeah. So where do you have him at excitement level?
3.
I thought you had somebody else at 3.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're like the bottom 4. Like, to me, Michinoku, Tiger Mask, Teton, and Kanemaru, they're my bottom guys.
Yeah.
But I do think that Kanemaru, out of all of those guys, I think he's going to get more points than the rest of them. I think he's going to have a pretty decent tournament. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to really spoil quite a few guys. And I could see him being similar point totals to a Gresham or a Show in this tournament. Or maybe a smidge beneath like Marty.
Yeah. So yeah. Keep your eyes out on Kanemaru, guys. Don't totally just write him off. So.
Especially with Desperado not being in the tournament. There has to be some sort of positive representation from Suzuki-gun.
Yeah.
And to me, he's that guy. So he's going to do well.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps up
the A block.
A block.
So we're at a yes for Dragon Lee, a yes for Skrull, a yes for Takagi and Ishimori. Those are the guys to really pay attention to when it comes to points total. But this block is pretty strong, and it's kind of like we're going to talk about the B block, which is, to me, the more athletic, the more flippy one. But there's going to be a lot of hard hitting.
Yeah, this is going to be like your grapple.
A lot of grappling, brawling. It's going to be a very interesting block. It does have the potential to be not necessarily as good as the B block, I would say. But overall, there's a lot of good matchups. I'm excited for the A block. It looks pretty... I'm pretty positive on it.
Yeah, me too. All right, so now let's break down the B block. And so we'll be starting off with Bandido representing Ring of Honor. This will be his first ever Best of the Super Junior tournament. I'm very excited about Bandido in this tournament.
10!
Yes, I got Bandido on a 10 for my excitement scale for the B block as the person I'm most excited about seeing.
I'm so stoked for Bandido!
I was very pumped. There was a chance of seeing Bandido in New Japan once we found out last year when he signed a Ring of Honor contract. And we're like, man, he has to be in Best of Super Juniors. And I think everybody was kind of counting and hoping on that. And here we are.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Cody. Thanks, Bucks. Thanks, Khan. I cannot wait.
Yeah, so super excited to have Bandido. We've mentioned several times on this show. We kind of saw his breakout moment WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans at the WrestleCon Super Show, and he's just been kind of riding a rocket ever since then and has been doing things all over Mexico, all over the U.S. Indies. Like I mentioned, he's now under Ring of Honor contract. He's part of the Lifeblood faction, doing big things in Ring of Honor. So yeah, I'm super excited, like I mentioned, for Bandido. This guy's just incredible. Just the stuff that he does in the ring, his high flying, just the risks that he takes. It's going to be great.
I am so excited for Bandido to be in this tournament. It's all fresh matchups for us for the most part. It's a lot of guys that we've never seen Bandido in New Japan aside from the G1 Supercard, but I think it's a different experience seeing somebody on a dream card that is co-promoted between two different companies versus seeing him brought in as a junior talent. Something about Bandido being involved in this tournament just screams like Hayabusa to me. It just has that feel to it. I'm very, 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 very excited to see Bandido here. He's the guy I'm most anticipating in the B block. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Just like we mentioned, the B block's kind of like the high flyer block. Well, they picked the perfect guy to be in here, Bandido. I think he's going to catch on real quick with the New Japan fans. I think he's going to get over. By the end of this tournament, I think the New Japan fans are going to love him and are going to want him back.
This is such an opportunity to build himself up as a star in Japan and really make his mark internationally. Also with U.S. fans who are less familiar with who Bandido is. Sure, he's done a lot of U.S. Indies, AAW, all the, PWG, all this sort of stuff. And then more recently, even working in Ring of Honor. But I don't think he's been exposed to the general audience the way that you would. And obviously, he was at All In. That was probably his biggest exposure.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a great opportunity for him to put on fantastic matches, give a great accounting of himself, and maybe even help bolster his star within Ring of Honor, because Lord knows they need the help right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so excited for Bandido. When you talk about matchups that I'm most excited about in the B block, they almost all involve, Bandido against any number of competitors. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be awesome. So anything else on Bandido?
Well, the big question, do we see him as being a realistic, likely guy to be towards the finals?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well. I think he's going to do well, but I could also see him being someone who is middle of the pack when it comes to point values.
Mm-hmm. I see him like 8 points.
I could see like 8 points, like 4 wins, maybe even 10, because with 10, that doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah. Like,
you need at least, like I said, about 12 points. I could see him
just coming that short, yeah.
Coming short, getting a few pinfalls. There's a few guys that I think New Japan's more invested in, but I see him having a fantastic tournament. So I'm going to say no at Bandido.
Yeah. So next up, we got the Jet Black Death Mask, Bushi, representing Los Ingobernables de Japón.
And I got to tell you, Jeremy, I like the way that you've organized this. I'm going to give you some credit, because it would have seemed that we were doing this in some sort of like value. If you would have gone off of our A block review, it seemed like we had the top guys at the top and the bottom guys at the bottom, but it's actually all alphabetical.
Yeah.
So we're not, we everything here is completely based off of just alphabetized names, which I like, because we're going with Bushi second.
And this will be Bushi's 7th Best of the Super Junior tournament. He was in, his first tournament was 2012, then he was in 2013, 2014, 2016, 2017, and then last year's tournament, 2018. Bushi, former one half of the IWGP Junior Tag Champs. He's been tag champs with Hiromu, tag champs with recently Shingo Takagi. They just recently lost the belts to Roppongi 3K. Bushi, he's one of these guys that I feel he's another guy that's going to get overlooked in this tournament. I would say most Western fans don't really care for Bushi or really, impressed by his matchups. But I feel like he's very popular with the Japanese audience and with the office. And I feel like he's going to be one of these guys that are going to get some upset wins. If you remember in last year's tournament, he beat Will Ospreay. He
did beat Will Ospreay. However, he was maybe he only had one win up to that point. It was in the middle of the tournament. Mm-hmm. So he didn't do super hot, but he did get a win over the champion. I could see him being a utility player in that same way. Obviously, being the second representative of LIJ, you've got to imagine he's not going to do quite near as well as what we're anticipating from Shingo, obviously. And within the group, he's got to be ranked number 3 out of all the juniors, just, behind Hiromu. But Bushi, like you said, very popular, former IWGP champion, former junior tag title champion as well. He is always stunting, has the coolest mask, has the coolest looks, but not necessarily the greatest performer in the ring. A lot of that does have to do with the injuries that he's suffered in the past. He is a guy that kind of gets by with a lot of his character tropes and character work.
The Black Mist, the Bushirooney.
It's not to say he's not a competent worker. He definitely is. And if he wants to turn it up, he definitely will. I'm excited for him and Bandido.
Yeah.
I think that will be good, especially given the fact that Bushi has such an extensive history of Lucha Libre experience. I'm excited to see what him and Doki might end up doing with one another. And I think he's in a much stronger block than he was last year. Last year he was in that A block. We talked last year about how the A block was pretty weak.
Yeah.
The blocks seem to be a lot more balanced this year, and he is in the exciting, high-flying bracket. I don't count him as being one of the guys I'm most excited for whatsoever, but he has the chance to have a lot of great performances, and this might be a great opportunity for him to kind of step out more and have more solid performances than he did last year, because he's got a lot of great guys to work with.
Yeah, this can definitely kind of be like a breakout moment for him. Like you mentioned, I'm not too excited for him either. I have him as 2 on my scale of 1 to 10.
While through the magic of audio editing, we did put a pause in between the A block and B block. You're not going to know that, but I went ahead and spoiled it.
You just broke kayfabe.
Breaking kayfabe.
You exposed the business.
Behind the curtain, giving you guys a peel back. But with that being the case, I'm looking at your ratings now, and I pretty much agree with them. Like, I'm right there with you. I'm at a 2 for Bushi. But that being said, I think Bushi will do pretty well in the points. I think he's going to get booked to do pretty well. I think he'll be similar to Bandido when everything is all said and done when it comes to points. I don't see him being a guy that's bottom rung when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's going to be a lot more... I think that this is going to be a more equal block just based off my booking. I think that this block is going to be a much tougher race, although there's only a few guys I realistically actually... I think there's more guys in the A block that I could realistically see being close to the finals. That being said, I think that they're going to book this in a more equal manner. Even though there's only like 1 or 2 guys I could see going to the finals out of this block, I think that he will be... I think that he'll have a closer point total when it's all said and done.
Yeah. And, but...
Because you don't have the same juggernauts you have in that A block.
Right. But he's definitely not one of the guys I can see going to the... even having a shot of going to the finals.
I don't either. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
I will say this. Out of the guys I don't expect to be at the finals, Bushi's the one outside guy because of who he is that you just never know. But I think it's highly unlikely. I'm going to say no as well.
Yeah. So next up, we're going to be talking about Doki, the replacement for El Desperado, representing Suzuki-gun. This is his first Best of the Super Junior tournament. And I'm going to turn to my resource here. I've been looking at Voices of Wrestling preview written by Andrew Rich. Go ahead and check that out for even more in-depth information on some of these guys, and it's a preview of the tournament. And Andrew reached out to the Cubs fan and got some information on Doki. So he was
if you guys are not familiar with Cubs fan, by the way, he has an excellent lucha blog on the internet. I would say he's one of, if not the most knowledgeable writer when it comes to lucha stuff on the internet. He's the guy that I always look to, very prominent on Twitter. Give him a follow, give him check out his stuff because he does an incredible job when it comes to covering lucha.
Yeah, and I figured out he was in New York and we missed him, so kind of bummed that we didn't get a chance to
I don't know what he looks like.
Run into the Cubs fan. Yeah, me either. But I'm sure he must have been bouncing around with some of the VOW guys. But yeah, so Doki, mainstay of the Mexican indie scene, having wrestled for practically every indie promotion under the sun. He's also wrestled for various indies in his native country of Japan, including K-Dojo, Michinoku Pro, Secret Base, and Freedoms. He uses a high-impact, smash-mouth Mexican indie style. So kind of a very similar style to El Desperado.
Yes, he actually had some very interesting comments during the press conference, and he said that he was going to enter this tournament to represent his brother Desperado. They're not actually brothers, but I think he's saying more in the sense of like
Suzuki-gun brother.
Yep, and I think Desperado kind of being, because he mentioned a few guys by name. He mentioned Yo, he mentioned Bushi, and he called them hipster lucha guys that come to Mexico for a cup of coffee and think that they represent lucha now and think that they know everything there is when it comes to lucha. He's like, you don't know anything about lucha. He said, I'm going to come to this tournament and I'm going to destroy this tournament. Mm-hmm. So some very strong words from him, which he's kind of got a chip on his shoulder when it comes to these guys that have gone on excursions but were only there for a short time and kind of adopt the Mexican and lucha kind of like tropes and things and integrate them to their character. He's like, but you're not even really lucha. You think you represent this and you don't. And him being a Japanese guy who's been over there for a long time and really integrated himself into the world of lucha libre, he probably has something to prove. I don't know what to expect for him. I think we're both at a 1 for Doki, just because we don't know the guy. We don't know what to expect. There's an intrigue there, but it's also like he could be Dookie, if you know what I'm saying. He might not be good. We don't know.
Right.
He could be great.
Yeah, so yeah. Well,
there's no investment. There's no fan investment from us.
Right. So, I mean, by the end of the tournament, I could be like, man, this guy really rocks, and, it should have been more excited for him. Or he could, just be where we have him at a 1 and just...
But with him getting this opportunity, it's a big opportunity. So, although we lost Desperado, we lost Will Ospreay, and there was a lot of great matchups. The B block...
You mean Flip Gordon?
I'm sorry, what did I say?
You said Will Ospreay.
My bad. Yeah. There was to me the B block was the stronger block. When you had those two guys in it, the amount of awesome matchups. Not to say that A block didn't look strong, but B block looked really strong.
Yeah, I mean there was a night that Ospreay and Flip Gordon are supposed to main event. There was a night where Desperado, he was in the B block, the last B block night main event with, against Phantasmo.
Oh, gotcha. Who we're going to talk about him in a moment, but he's in a lot of main events and high profile, card placements. So, but don't know what to expect with Doki. I do think that the B block is a little more balanced out in terms of match quality because of these two new entrants. It does change things quite a bit. And like we said before, I think that their entrants kind of elevate the point values and totals for a lot of these other guys in the tournament. I don't see him being high up in the point values just because New Japan fans don't know him, Western fans don't know him. Hopefully he puts on great matches, but I see him being bottom of the list when it comes to point values. Right. I think he'll get booked very similarly to how some of the Lucha CMLL guys have in the past.
Yeah, he'll probably have equal points at Teton. It's just one of those things where, he's not a New Japan contracted guy. Like, how many of your guys do you want him beating? Especially if you're probably... Who knows if we'll ever see him again in New Japan. So
I think it's interesting, though, that we have Bandido and Doki in this block and kind of missing out on matches with, with Teton and Dragon Lee from CMLL. I think that might have been done specifically for political reasons.
Yeah, because, CMLL doesn't really get along with other, Mexican indies or other bigger Mexican companies.
Correct.
Anything else on Doki?
That's it.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the headbanger, El Phantasmo, representing the Bullet Club. This will be Phantasmo's first year in Best of the Super Juniors. He's won the British J Cup and Rev Pro. He just recently won the Rev Pro, the British Cruiserweight Championship from David Starr in a ladder match at
the Product.
Rev Pro. Yeah. So El Phantasmo made his big debut during the Dontaku tour. We saw those hype videos for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then he finally debuted teaming up with his Bullet Club partner Taiji Ishimori and getting the big pinfall against Will Ospreay and Dragon Lee. And obviously there's a backstory between Phantasmo and Will Ospreay from the kind of the British scene and in Rev Pro.
Yeah, so El Phantasmo is a guy that, for me, I've watched him quite a bit. I was very impressed with his showing during the Dontaku tour. Although I got to say, a lot of his stuff that I've seen over in Europe, I haven't been blown away by El Phantasmo. I think he's a really good guy. But I think that this is a whole new level, a whole new class of wrestlers that he's going to be in there with. I am excited for him. I know I'm looking at your rating. You're a little bit higher on your excitement for him, but I'm pretty high up there. Where are you at with this?
So I'm at a 9. Phantasmo's a name that I've heard of, and when we hear stuff in Rev Pro, his name always gets brought up. And we covered the news. We talked about him winning the British J Cup, but I could say I've never seen a full match of his. And then the Dontaku match was pretty much the first time I've seen him in action, and I was really impressed with him, and kind of blew me away with the rope walking spots and his huge Masai moonsault that he did. And I just think he's going to be a guy that's going to tear it up. He does have a history with Will Ospreay, who he'll be main eventing the May 22nd Cork and Hall show with. And I think that's just going to be an opportunity, since those guys they know each other so well. I think that's going to be probably one of the best matches of the tournament.
I think El Phantasmo, being a guy who has come in with all of this fanfare and these hype videos and representing the Bullet Club, which, the Bullet Club as a brand is something that has made a ton of money for New Japan, and they are trying very hard to reinvigorate that brand and to rebuild it and keep that gravy train rolling, losing all those guys from the Elite going to AEW. His inclusion into that group makes a lot of sense, and they're really pushing him hard. Obviously, he got a pinfall win over Will Ospreay during the tag match last month. We had kind of speculated that maybe he would pin Dragon Lee and then be in the same block as him, but they went the other way, had him beat Will Ospreay, which is a big deal. So we're gonna, like you mentioned, their history, and there's a lot of intrigue there. I'm at an 8 with El Phantasmo, simply for the fact that I think he's gonna get pushed very strongly. I mentioned it earlier on the podcast. He's got very high placement on a lot of the cards. He's in a lot of main events and also like in semi-main spots all throughout the tour. He's gonna do well in this tournament, and he is a candidate, in my opinion, to be somebody that could potentially either be at the top of the point standings or maybe even win the block.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely, he's definitely one of the guys in this block that has a chance of going to the finals. And similar to Taiji Ishimori last year, new Bullet Club member, pins Will Ospreay before the tournament, gets kind of pushed to the moon in the tournament. Ishimori, a lot of people thought he was going to win the tournament last year. I mean, he went to the finals and lost. So, Phantasmo, he could have a same kind of push that Ishimori had last year, and he could end up in the finals.
I agree. So, most of my intrigue, it's not necessarily based off of the matchups he has. It's more based off of the potential booking that they're going to put him into, and just the intrigue of not being as familiar with him as a worker, as a lot of guys in this tournament. But the intrigue level and the excitement level for Phantasmo's inclusion is very high. We kind of speculated since last year he'd be somebody involved in this tournament. And now that he's here, it is an exciting prospect. So very excited for that. And there is a chance, ladies and gentlemen, if you're filling out your brackets, there's a chance Phantasmo is one of those finalists.
Yeah. So up next, we're going to be talking about Ren Narita filling in for Flip Gordon. This will be obviously Ren Narita's first Best of the Super Junior tournament. I am a big Flip Gordon fan, and I am sad that Flip is not going to be in this tournament. However, I am very excited that Ren Narita gets the chance to be in this tournament. Ren Narita is a guy that we have been singing his praises since we've seen him, especially since that Young Lions Project match against who was the other dude he wrestled in that match? The dude that quit.
Yagi,
yeah. The Narita Yagi matches that we love so much, and Narita is definitely one of the best young lions right now that's in this current class, and
he's one of the best workers alive today.
And I'm just very excited that he's getting this opportunity to be in this tournament. I think he's gonna jump at the bit for this opportunity. He's going to showcase what he's got, and I think he's gonna have an excellent tournament.
I'm very excited for Ren Narita. I was talking to Jeremy and I was saying, it's very interesting when they had announced originally that Flip was going to be in this tournament. Flip had a great tournament last year. We were excited for him. And I think our anticipation level last year for Flip was way higher than it was this year.
Yeah. One
of the most prolific and, accomplished high flyers out there. Then this year, you looked at the block and it was like, it's kind of crazy with how great Flip is. And you look at how many high flyers there are. Will Ospreay, Robbie Eagles, El Phantasmo, Bandido. He was like probably like one of the guys I was least, not to say I wasn't excited, but least excited for as far as in terms of ranking, which seemed crazy to me because of how great Flip is. But now that he's out of the tournament, it's very, demoralizing, and it's very disappointing because it's like we were going to see him in Bandido. We were going to see him in Phantasmo. We were going to get him in Ospreay again, him and Robbie Eagles. Those were all matches I was like, man, I'm looking forward to. I can't wait. Now that he's gone, it changes the whole trajectory of the tournament. Like Jeremy mentioned, we've seen Ren Narita in one other singles tournament in New Japan. It was that Young Lions Cup from December of 2017. He did get no wins in that entire tournament. On the final night, he did go to a 15-minute draw with Yagi and got his one solid point of the entire tournament. But things have changed quite a bit there. He's no longer one of the junior Young Lions. He's one of the top 2 senior guys from that Young Lions class. And it's going to be very interesting to see him in this tournament because he is completely different from the rest of the high flyers in this tournament. He's not a high flyer. He's a technical guy. He is a classic strong style wrestler. He's someone who will stand toe-to-toe with you and hit you with elbows. He's a guy that will work counters and work holds and work he works the fundamentals that all Young Lions do. Now, I do expect him to get pretty much squashed throughout the tournament. He's obviously not going to be near the finals. The question is, will he even win a match in the entire tournament?
Yeah, we had a lot of questions about that. BJ Baker, do you think Ren Narita will get a win? Rambone Slam Pig, what is the over-under on wins for Ren Narita in the Best of Super Junior 26? Reddit user Eater Bread, can you see Ren Narita picking up a win in any of his Best of Super Junior matches? A lot of people want to know if Ren Narita is going to get a win or not.
If he were to get a win, it's possible. It's not unprecedented because I know Dave Finlay got a win a few years ago when he was in this tournament.
Yeah, in 2016, and then Hiromu Takahashi when he was a Young Lion in 2012.
I think they're high in Ren Narita. I could see him getting a win. If he does, there's only, in my opinion, 2 guys I realistically see him being able to get a win over that are prime for the picking. One, the mystery man, Doki. The other one, Roque Romero. I could see him getting a roll-up victory over Roque. I don't see him submitting any of these guys, but I could see him picking up a win.
Yeah, and his snap belly to belly is so quick.
Ooh, yeah.
And comes out of nowhere. We talked about that last week. I mean, he could hit Rocky or Doki with that and real quick and get out of there and get a quick win.
Chances he beats Taguchi? None?
I'd say there's a small chance, but I don't think it's a great chance.
But with that being said, we know what the deal is here. He's a Young Lion. He's probably, if he even gets 2 points, that would be a miracle. I don't know how to do over-unders. Rambone Slam Pig, I don't even know what that, I know it's a betting terminology, but I don't understand it.
So pretty much like you set a number and then you go kind of either he's going to get over that number or under that number.
Right, but what's the number based off of? Like, I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. Yes. I understand what it means.
Yeah.
But like, what is over under 200? What does that mean? I don't know.
I think you set the number, or she set. I don't know.
I'm
not a betting man.
I don't have a good baseline for what the number would be. I have no clue.
I honestly don't think he's not gonna get more.
I think if he gets 1 point, but you know what? If he goes completely like victoryless throughout this entire tournament, that is a high likelihood. Yeah. It's completely possible. And if that happens, I don't think any of us should be disappointed. I think the fact that he's getting this experience, this exposure, and a chance to even be in the tournament at all is a big deal.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's going to get under 2 wins.
And you're at a 6 for Ren Narita.
Yeah.
I am too. So that's my excitement level, which is, more than some of these other guys that are going to have great tournaments. So that tells you how high we are on Ren Narita. We are very high on Ren Narita. He's my favorite young lion. Very excited for this.
Yeah. Then a couple other questions on Narita. So Reddit user Eater of Bread, why aren't he and Shota Umino on excursion yet when they're both more than ready for quite some time now? I think part of that has to do with the young lions are in the dojo right now. Like, if those guys leave, there's not really much.
There's not much left.
Yeah.
Like, we've got we've talked about Kawado's on excursion, and so is Oka. We don't know how long they're going to be gone, but that's, we've already got 2 guys on excursion. But then if he leaves, and if hypothetically Umino leaves, you've only got 2 Japanese talent that are still there in Tsuji and Yumura. There have been some news recently about them bringing in some of Fale's students.
Yeah, 2 of his students recently just joined.
But even with that, it's, who's going to work those opening matches? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Who's going to protect the fans when Suzuki goes on Rampage?
Yeah, and who's going to get punched in the face by Jericho when he's working his matches?
Right.
So I think that has something to do with it. But I couldn't say for sure. I think that's the most likely answer for why it's like they haven't restocked the dojo yet.
Right. I mean, there's guys in the dojo right now, just they're not at the point yet where they can have matches. I think once those guys are ready to have matches, then I think they send Umino and Narita out.
I think what we should do, and this is what would be best for everybody involved, it would help our podcast out. It'd help New Japan out a lot. It'd help me out. I think that you need to sign up for the dojo system. You need to go to Japan and go live in the LA dojo, Jeremy. That would bring a lot of exposure to what we do, and I'd get to live here without you and Kai and just have the whole place to myself. So it's a win-win for everybody. Plus, you get to get famous. I get to ride your coattails, and that's what we should do.
All right, I'll think about that.
They're always talking about how there's not enough black talent in New Japan. You need to go over there and revolutionize.
Fill the gap that
fill the gap.
ACH left.
Yes.
Albert Hardy Jr.
Speaking of which, we were at this is crazy. We were at a NXT show on Thursday. We got to see the Time Splitter Kushida. We got to see ACH. We got to see Jonah Rock. We got to see Shane Strickland versus Kyle O'Reilly.
You mean Roddy Strong?
Or yeah, Roderick. No, yeah, it was better versus Roderick Strong, and Velveteen Dream against Adam Cole for $10. I was wearing a New Japan Lions Mark shirt, and when Kushida came out, I started shaking my shirt. He saw it. He pointed right at me. So, Junior Ace and the Heavyweight Ace, I've completed the trifecta. Like, it's awesome. Yeah. And he tell him he pointed at me, did he not?
I was, Kushida, just like Tanahashi, pointed at you.
Yes.
So, yeah. And, we were getting, we were pretty much the life... the energy for that whole crowd.
Man, that Minreg Hall crowd was dead. Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
We even got a little mention in the Observer. They were talking about the crowd singing out for Albert Hardy Jr.
Oh, who did that? J.J. Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we were sitting like right behind him.
Oh, were we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing the Zack Sabre Jr. chant, but for Albert Hardy Jr., he was loving it, bro. Like, ACH was loving it. And that's why I was wondering. I was like, man, I know Doki's cool and I know Ren Narita's cool, but it's like, they could have called Kushida back. They could have called ACH back. It's disappointing.
They had to make a call to Paul.
Just let him do it. Let him come back over, please. But no, it's cool. But let's talk about the next guy.
Hold on, one more question about Narita from
gotcha.
Reddit user CFC Champions. He says, with Ren Narita entering the Best of the Super Junior, do you see Umino getting a spot in the G1?
No, we've had this question before. It's not impossible, but unless someone gets injured, there's too many talents that would get the nod above him. In my opinion, it's not impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely unless they do something similar to what they did with the New Japan Cup this year, and they expand the field of competitors and expand the amount of spots, then maybe. But even with that, I still say probably not.
Yeah, I feel like several juniors would get a spot over Umino.
Well, some of them will, for sure. Or at least one of them.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next competitor we'll be talking about the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, representing Bullet Club. This will be his first Best of the Super Junior tournament. We saw him in the Super Junior Tag League in October. That's when he made his debut, teaming up with Taiji Ishimori for that tournament, joining the Bullet Club. He does have a history also with Will Ospreay in their kind of the matches they've had in Australia. And he picked up some wins during that Super Junior Tag League. Like he pinned Jushin Thunder Liger, forcing him to submit. So I feel like Eagles is a guy that I think they might do something with Eagles eventually.
Yeah, I think they're going to definitely push him. But I've got to imagine, this is just my opinion, with Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori being in the Bullet Club and being guys that are primed and, kind of ready to be heavily pushed in this tournament by all indications, kind of makes him the third string guy in the Bullet Club, honestly.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, is we haven't seen Robbie Eagles have any singles matches in New Japan. We've had some complaints on this podcast about how he's been so highly touted and, very highly recommended. But we haven't so far seen what most people consider to be the best of Robbie Eagles. So he's got a great opportunity in front of him. He's got guys that he's going to be working with that he's familiar with, like Will Ospreay, who, by all accounts has had near 5-star matches with on several occasions. It is interesting, him and El Phantasmo both being tag partners, being Bullet Club members, are in the same blocks. They will be working with one another. That will be interesting. Mm-hmm. And I think they're pretty familiar with one another.
Yeah.
And quite a few other high flyers.
Yeah, May 26th in Chiba is when he'll be wrestling Will Ospreay, and that's a semi-main. So that's going to be a pretty big match. And I feel like wrestling guys that he's comfortable with is definitely going to give him the platform to have a better match and really showcase what he's made of. So I think, like you mentioned, the Ospreay match and the Phantasmo matches are going to be, I think those will be the breakout matches.
He just hasn't had the spotlight to really show what he could potentially do so far. So this will really be make or break for him when it comes to his standing within New Japan. And who knows, if he has a fantastic tournament, it could really open a lot of doors for him within this company. He has the chance to have a better accounting of himself than El Phantasmo. And from a professional standpoint, I know if I'm Robbie Eagles and I'm in New Japan and they're pushing Phantasmo, I want to upstage this guy every night and establish myself as the primary junior in the Bullet Club, and help myself get my merch over and help myself get my title matches in the future. So it's a big deal there. I'm middle of the road when it comes to my excitement for Robbie Eagles, though.
Yeah, I'm at a 5.
I am too. I'm right there with you.
Just based off the Super Junior Tag League and his previous tag stuff. So,
and I think we're a no as far as potential to go to the finals in this tournament, correct?
Yeah, I don't think he has a chance. Anything else on the Robbie Eagles?
I think, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity. Hopefully he makes the most of it, and hopefully we eat crow and turn around and be like, Robbie Eagles is way better than we ever knew he was going to be, and having all these singles matches and being in this prestigious tournament gives him that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. All right, so next we'll be talking about our good friend, Rocky Romero, representing Chaos and Roppongi 3K. This will be Rocky's 9th Best of the Super Junior tournament. He was in 04, 05, 06, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016. So this will be Rocky's first tournament in 30 years. He's mainly kind of been in a managerial role since Roppongi Vice broke up in 2017. That was him and Trent Beretta formed Roppongi 3K with Sho and Yo, and it's pretty much just been managing them. And we've also seen him a lot in English commentary. But Rocky, he's kind of been an ace of the junior tag team division. He's won back-to-back Super Junior Tag Leagues with Trent Beretta. So a guy, I think he can still go. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's kind of slotted. I mean, normally in multi-man matches now, he's the one that's kind of taking the pin. So, I mean, I think he'll have some good matches, but I'm not expecting him to get a ton of points here.
Rocky is a guy that is, like you said, he can still go. He's a very competent worker. He's, like you said, a very tenured veteran within New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think it is going to be interesting the fact that him and Yo are in the same block, being stablemates and teammates. But there's not a lot for me to sink my teeth into here. And I'll tell you, he's one of the guys I'm least excited to see. And it's not because he's not a good wrestler. Rocky's a really good wrestler, but we don't see him in a lot of singles action. When we have over the past few years, it's been very I wouldn't call them like part of any sort of major push. The last time that Rocky was really pushed was during his run with Roppongi Vice with Trent Beretta, and that's been several years removed from that. I thought it was a good move that he wasn't even in the tournament last year. I know they expanded this block to have 10 guys in each block, but I do think that there's some fat you could cut, and I don't think there's a need for several of the guys in the other block, and I don't think there's a need for several of the guys in this block unless you just need them to be pin eaters and to balance out the block, and that's kind of my feelings with Rocky Romero. With that being said, though, I do think he'll have good matches with a lot of the top talent that's in this tournament, but I'm not excited. For me, I gotta tell you, I'm at like a 2 for Rocky Romero.
Wow. I'm at 4 for Rocky.
I see that. Yeah, I see that. It's just there's not a lot for me to get excited about. Obviously, I don't think Rocky's going to be near the top or even be close to winning the tournament. We're speculating whether Ren Narita beats him or not.
Yeah,
that tells you something. And Rocky Romero's a good friend of the show, and he's a great guy, and he's a great talent and very accomplished wrestler. But as far as this tournament goes, I'm not that excited.
Rocky is kind of the lower end, and like we mentioned, we love Rocky, friend of the show. Eventually he'll be on here, but just the level of guys that he's in there with, man, it's like, and just knowing that he's probably going to be a pin eater, that like kind of kills any excitement that I would really have for him. So
agreed.
Yeah, so I think with Rocky, definitely doesn't have a chance of being to the finals. So next up, the Funky Weapon, Ryusuke Taguchi, representing Taguchi Japan. Taguchi has been in quite a number of these Best of the Super Junior tournaments. He was in 03, 04, 06, 07, 08, 09, 2010, 2011, 2012, when he actually won the tournament, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018.
And a multiple-time finalist in this tournament. Last year, Taguchi had his lowest points total in several years.
Yeah, and I know that was something that also kind of threw off people's brackets, because I know a lot of people initially were like, oh, well, it's Taguchi, and then it was like, well, there's big match Taguchi, and in these tournaments he usually gets booked well. But yeah, he usually
gets very serious. He usually puts on great matches. He had several very good matches in the tournament last year. He also had that surprise roll-up upset win over Kushida. Where he pinned him in
like 30 seconds. Something.
It was shorter than that. It was like 16 seconds.
Yeah.
And he is a guy that can beat anybody on any given night, but he was not prominently booked in last year's tournament. This year, with it being a more parity-based block, in my opinion, I think he's going to do much better when it comes to points totals. Just the fact that he is someone that's featured quite a bit in the junior division. He had a fantastic showing against Taiji Ishimori this past year when he challenged for the junior title at the New Beginning Tour. I think Taguchi's going to do well in this tournament. I really do, and I think that he's in a more demanding block this year than he was. Well, actually, he was in the B block last year. He was in a pretty demanding block.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to have some very great showings. We're going to get big match Taguchi again this year. And I'll tell you what, my excitement level's not super high for Taguchi, but he's someone that has, in my opinion, a slight outside chance to be a potential finalist?
I don't know. I don't think I can't see Taguchi being a finalist. I do see him getting like 8 points, getting like 4 wins overall at the end of the day. But I don't see him being a guy. I can see him being a spoiler. I can see him stopping somebody from going to the finals. But I don't.
Here's the thing: there's not very many guys that could potentially win this.
Mm-hmm.
We've pretty much said no to everybody except for El Phantasmo up to this point, and I think we've only got one other guy we're going to agree on. So at that point, you're saying it's a two-way tie between two individuals. If there were anybody who has an outside shot, I liken it to the G1 the year that Goto went to the finals against Kenny Omega. Nobody saw that coming. Everyone was pretty dead set. It was either going to be Tanahashi or Okada, and then they both got knocked out by having a draw at the end and afforded a chance for Goto to go into those finals against Kenny Omega. I do think that there's a slight chance that Taguchi could go to the finals. I don't think it's likely, given the fact that they are going to be at Sumo Hall, but people do underestimate Taguchi's popularity, and if he has a great showing in this tournament, I don't think he's going to have 8 points. It's a 18-point field. He's going to have at least 10, maybe 12 points or more.
Really?
Yes. In this block with this many guys who are not going to get super pushed, I think he's going to be right there with your Bandidos and guys like that. You just got to look at the field, and it's like he's going to get more points than Romero. He's going to get more points than Narita. He's going to get more points than Doke. He's going to get more points than Bushi. He's not.
Are you sure about that?
I'm not totally sure about
Bushi.
I'm not totally sure about Bushi, but I would say it's likely he's going to get more points.
See, I think Yo. I think he's going to kind of be similar to Show. I think both of those guys are going to get pushes.
I think they're going to get pushes too, but a 10 or 12 point field, like I think in the A block you're going to get a couple guys that have really high point totals. But in this block you're going to see a lot of guys taking a lot of pinfall losses, meaning that 10 or 12 points is going to be much more attainable for everybody involved. Taguchi's gonna... I know I said the same thing last year and I was proven wrong, but this field is way less stacked in terms of pushed talent. He's gonna get a lot of points. I'm not saying he's gonna win.
Yeah.
It is unlikely, but Taguchi's not gonna be at the bottom of the rung in this tournament. Not this year.
I don't think he's gonna be at the bottom, but I think he's gonna
or even in the middle.
I think he's gonna be the middle.
He's not gonna be in the middle. He's gonna be towards the top because it's Taguchi.
We'll have to agree to disagree there. I think he's gonna be in the middle.
I'm looking at this field. I'm looking at the guys that he's in there with, and I don't see a lot of guys that are gonna get pushed harder than Taguchi.
I think a lot of guys are going to get pushed harder than him. I think Yo is going to do surprisingly well. I think Bushi is going to do well. Obviously, you got Ospreay and Bandido. I think Robbie Eagles is going to do well also. Phantasmo. I think there's a lot of guys that are going to be on top of where Taguchi is going to be at.
I disagree.
All right,
I disagree. I think, but here's the thing. I agree in one stance that you're right. I think all those guys have the potential to surpass him, but they're all... I think almost everybody in this block's taken at least 2 losses. And if that's true, then there's no way Taguchi's going to be in the middle.
All right.
Unless the only way that's possible is the only way Taguchi's in the middle is if people are taking less pinfalls than that, like 2 or 3. If you need a couple guys, you would need like 3 or 4 guys who only do 1 or 2 losses for Taguchi to be at the bottom. Instead, I think you're going to have a lot of guys with 3 or 2 losses who only end up with, let's see, you've got 18 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they lose 3 times, that's 16, 15, 14. You're going to see a lot of guys in the 12 to 14 range. A lot of that, in my opinion, in this block. And if that's the case, Taguchi's going to have 10 or 12 points.
All right, well, I guess we'll just have to see things play out and see who's right in the end. So next up, we got the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay, representing Chaos, This will be Ospreay's fourth Best of the Super Junior tournament. His first tournament was 2016, in which he was the winner. Then he was also in 2017, where he was in the finals, and then 2018, where he failed to reach the finals. That was last year.
As the champion.
Yep, as the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. So Ospreay's back here for his fourth tournament. Definitely one of the favorites to win the whole block and to win the whole tournament, considering his kind of heavyweight push that he's had this year. Starting off with beating Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom for the Never Openweight belt, and then he's had pinfall victories over Jeff Cobb, Lance Archer,
Bad Luck Fale.
So yeah, a lot of these heavyweight guys he's been pinning. Hikuleo he's been pinning left and right. So Ospreay is coming into this tournament pushed further than he's probably ever been before, being that he's kind of breaking into the heavyweight ranks. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they book him here, because you would think with him beating heavyweights that it would be weird for him to be losing to a lot of juniors.
I agree. Taking it even a step further back, and that was a great recap of his most recent heavyweight run. But one thing you got to also look at and consider, Will Ospreay in 2018, after he won the junior title at Wrestle Kingdom, he went on a string of incredible junior title defenses. From January going into the Best Super Juniors, he was still the champion. He had a very strong tournament, even though he was in a weaker block. He was kind of the most successful guy. He was putting on the best matches. They weren't match of the year caliber matches, but he was having I think he was the MVP of the A block by far. And then after he dropped the title to Hiromu at Dominion last year, he only had one other junior match, basically against Marty Scurll in their title eliminator. He lost that, and then from that point he's been almost completely absent from the junior scene. So it was like he had a fantastic junior run all the way through the juniors into Dominion, and then one last junior match against Scurll, and he's really hasn't been involved in the junior division at all. He started wrestling in all those multi-man matches with the heavyweights and then went on his Never run. Now he's back, and he was a guy that we're speculating might not even be in the Best of Super Juniors this year. But once the announcement was made that, Sumo Hall would be one of the destinations and, the kind of star power, this is a guy that they've really built up over the past year, like you alluded to. And you got to imagine he's going to have a fantastic tournament. Will Ospreay, I'm at a 9 for Will Ospreay in this tournament as far as my excitement level, and he is my pick to win the B block.
I'm at an 8 for my excitement level with Ospreay. He's also my pick to win the B block, so we both have a finals of Shingo and Will Ospreay. I think with the finals being in Sumo Hall, you need a big first-time matchup with two big stars. Shingo is the biggest rising star of the A block. Ospreay, the biggest star in the B block. I think that makes... I know some people might say it's too obvious to do Shingo and Ospreay, but New Japan oftentimes books the most obvious thing. Sometimes you overthink things and think that there's going to be some kind of swerve and there's going to be something's going to come out of left corner. And there are occasions where they do surprises and there are some swerves, but I would say majority of the times these things are booked out pretty logically and are right there in front of your face from the very get-go.
Yes.
Very obvious. So I think Ospreay and Shingo is the way to go. That's a match that's going to put butts in the seats on June 5th for Sumo Hall. So, definitely always think Ospreay is going to do very well. Honestly, in my prediction contest, I only had Ospreay losing one match.
Now, that's an interesting thing. Now, if Will Ospreay is super dominant in this tournament, which is a possibility and maybe even a likely possibility, just given his dominance since leaving the junior division, and also given the field, how I talked, when we talked about Taguchi, I mentioned there's not a lot of guys that I could see going to the finals or having, tons of points. You could really book it to where Will Ospreay is that guy who is a standout going towards the end of the tournament. I did try to do a little bit of cheating, and because it's one thing that you can usually do to figure out where New Japan's going with things is when they release the entire tournament schedule, you can kind of look at the final nights and see who's matched up and if that will give you an indication. And on the last night, I think he's going against, I don't even know.
I think he's going against
Taguchi?
Narita now.
Against Narita on the last night?
Yeah, hold on. Because he was supposed to be going against Flip, I think, on the last night.
That's one thing that gives me a slight cause for pause.
Let's see. Yeah, he's going against Taguchi. Sorry.
I was right. It is Taguchi.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeremy, again, that's one reason why I think Taguchi's going to have a lot of points towards the end. That's one other thing that's influencing my opinion about Taguchi's placement is because Taguchi does like the only way that Taguchi, it would make sense where he wouldn't have a lot of points, like you said, is if he's strictly a spoiler there. Because the other big match on that night is going to be El Phantasmo, and he's taking on who?
Doki.
Okay, and that's another one where it's like that's a foregone conclusion. So that's why I was saying on the finals of the B block night, it's really strange because we're used to like now if they were like it's Phantasmo against Will Ospreay, then you'd be like, oh, those are the two guys that are most likely. It makes a lot of sense. It's easy to kind of predict. But with them going up against two guys that probably are very unlikely to win, you've got to imagine that it's going to come down to. I don't even know. It makes things very strange.
Well, here's a scenario that I've booked out.
Okay.
So I have Ospreay and Phantasmo going into this night tied.
Having close point totals.
Right. And eventually, pretty much both of these guys are going to win their matches here tonight. And it's going to end up with both of them with a 16-point tie. But I have Ospreay beating Phantasmo. So he has a tiebreaker. So Ospreay will go to the finals.
Here's the only thing with that. That's possible, except for if Will Ospreay's already beaten him, and Will Ospreay's in the opening match against Taguchi, and then Phantasmo's in the finals, and you already know that if he wins, he's going to tie Will Ospreay and be beat, then you've essentially already established the winner of the whole tournament in the opening match of the night. That's not likely considering the type of booking that Gato likes to do. You know what I mean? It's not impossible, but it's not likely unless the order of the matches.
I don't think because if you look at the cards on New Japan, they have the undercards are listed first, second, third, fourth,
but it's not
fifth.
necessarily ordered.
Right, but the actual the B block final matches are not listed the order that they're going in.
You could be right there, and that would make I think. Honestly, looking at that final night card, I think Taguchi and Will Ospreay will probably be the main event.
Yeah, because you're not going to main event with Romero versus Bandido, Narita versus Bushi, or Phantasmo versus Doki.
Right. And so my thinking is this: what you just laid out is possible, and if Taguchi's there just to play spoiler, that would make a lot of sense, and everything you're saying is very logical. But I also could see a scenario where Taguchi has an outside chance of winning the tournament and being in that final match against Ospreay. It indicates to me he's probably going to have a lot of points in the tournament because it's Taguchi. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm still seeing Taguchi in the middle of the pack.
And so to me, that's very anticlimactic if you only have two guys going up against outside guys who have no chance, and it's basically just like an eliminator at the end, and it could possibly be the case, but that's not necessarily how Gato likes to book. But getting back to Will Ospreay here, I think he's the likely winner, and it is hard to kind of predict what the trajectory of his tournament's going to look like, but I do see him having a dominant, tournament. The thing with Ospreay, though, is that he's not getting pushed exactly the same way as Shingo as this juggernaut who's just running through everybody. I think he's going to beat the majority of these guys, but in my opinion, I think he's a guy that gives back. He really is. I think he's going to drop pinfalls to at least two guys in this tournament. At least. And wind up with about 14 points to win the tournament. And then I think there's even a chance that he probably loses the tournament in the final. I think that this is his swan song for the juniors. I think this is the last time we see him in the junior division.
Yeah, we had a question about that from Reddit user Mookie1515 saying, do you see this as Will Ospreay's last Super Juniors? I feel the writing's on the wall. He'll be doing the G1 this year. Has anyone done both in the same year?
You know what? We got this question previously, and I had said that I thought that Liger had done it in 2000, but I found out he actually only competed in the G1 that year, not the Best of Super Juniors. Gotcha. But I do know Prince Devitt did it in 2013, and we actually had someone on Reddit name another wrestler who had done it, but I was not as familiar with.
Yeah, I saw that comment too, but I wasn't familiar with that person either. Finn Balor, aka Fergal Devitt, is the one person that I'm most familiar with doing it. Let me see if I can pull that name up. Tachito Takawa in 2000? Takawa? Not sure if I'm saying his name correctly.
Tetsuhito Takaiwa. I don't know him.
Yeah, so those would be the only two people have done it. But yeah, I mean, I do think this could be Ospreay's last Best of Super Juniors tournament, and then this will be his last kind of run as a junior, and then he goes to heavyweight from here, and he's in the G1, and then we'll see him in the heavyweight.
Because I think it's his swan song, I think he's going to be very dominant, but I also think he's going to drop a few losses to kind of give back to the division. That's my prediction.
Gotcha.
But I think that him and Bandido, him and Bushi, him and El Phantasmo, him and Narita, him and Robbie Eagles, him and Rocky, I think Will Ospreay is the guy to look out for. Even though I'm most excited for Bandido, like I mentioned, I got to be at a 9 for Will Ospreay with how he's in the running for Wrestler of the Year right now, and this is going to bolster that claim, and he's going to have excellent matches almost every night.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the MVP of this block.
I do too.
Yeah. All right, and
finally,
last but not least, the High and Mighty Yo, representing Chaos and Roppongi 3K. This will be Yo's third Best of the Super Juniors. He was in 2015 and last year's 2018. So he's back here again, 2019. In there with his manager and coach, Rocky Romero. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how the matchup between those guys run.
Plus, I think him and Ospreay were in the same block last year as well as members of Chaos, and so they're going to run it back again. And they had a very good match last year.
Yeah, so in 2015, he got 0 points during that run.
He was a young lion.
Yeah. But last year, I believe he got 6 points in the tournament, just like Sho did. So both of them kind of booked on even playing field there. But I feel like since then, both of those guys have been elevated, have done incredible work in the junior tag team division, and I feel like both Sho and Yo will do better this year than they did last year, and will be elevated even more here.
I agree. I'm very excited for Yo. Last year, he kind of got established as like the wacky roll-up guy. Yeah. He didn't really have a established finisher. Does he even have one now?
Yes, he used that the Dragon Suplex. That's what he used to win that match, the junior tag title match, the rematch against Shingo and Bushi. He hit that Dragon Suplex on Bushi.
So he has an impact pinning combination now, which I love the Dragon Suplex, by the way. I think he's going to have an excellent tournament. He's just another, little diamond, another little gem in this excellent B-block tournament. I'm very excited for him. And last year it was kind of like he was finding himself, but I think he's really found himself as a performer. And we're going to see what he's made of this year. And he's going to do very well, just like I think Sho will. And I'm excited. But I don't think he's a guy that has an outside chance to win this thing.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I have him at a 7 for an excitement level. I'm really excited to see what Yo's going to do this year. Like you said, I don't think he has a shot of winning or going to the finals.
I think we both would agree, and I haven't talked to you about this, but knowing both of our opinions, did we both think that Desperado had a good chance of being one of the top guys at the end, maybe even winning?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's another reason why I think things have really changed with this tournament.
Yeah.
But man, Yo, I'm excited. I'm excited for Yo. I'm excited to see what he can do. Him and Bandido is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's
Him. Yeah, it's gonna be a good.
Ospreay, yeah, him and Phantasmo. He's gonna have a great tournament.
I agree.
All right, so now we're going to talk about some kind of block matches that kind of stand out, some matches to kind of keep your eyes on. But first, we have a question from Reddit user ablue3. He said, "What matches from each block are you most looking forward to?"
Okay, so we've gotten this question quite a bit, and obviously this is a stacked tournament, like really stacked. And I mean, we could go all day and say I'm excited for this. I mean, there's so many matches, and this tournament. Not only is it so stacked, but it's daunting. We've talked about how they expanded there's like 30 more matches than there was last year.
Yeah.
Holy crap! In a way shorter period of time than there was last year.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be watching this in hyperdrive or overtime. It's gonna be tough. I think we discussed this before the show, and I think it's gonna be a fun thing for us to do. Me and Jeremy are each going to pick 2 matches we're excited for from each block. But the catch, we cannot use the same wrestlers that we used for our picks. And I will let you go first for the A block. So out of every match that you can see in the A block right now, what match are you most excited for?
I think I am most excited for the big one, Shingo Takagi versus Sho.
Shingo versus Sho, wow. Not Shingo versus Dragon Lee.
Dude, they have done an excellent job building up the Shingo and Sho rivalry, and I'm salivating. I'm at the point I want to see it. They've been killing each other in tag matches the whole year. It's time to get these guys one-on-one and see who the true alpha is.
Okay, that's great. So obviously, I think we would say almost all of our excited matches are going to involve Shingo, so that knocks out a lot of the matches I would have picked. But I will go second. I'm going to take Dragon Lee and Taiji Ishimori. We saw them have an excellent title match at Dontaku. I'm excited to see them run it back again, and that's very, very exciting for me. Dragon Lee and Taiji Ishimori.
Nice. So now I got to pick from A block again, right?
Yep.
And I can't use Sho or Shingo.
Or Dragon Lee or Ishimori.
Gotcha. In that case, I will go with Marty Scurll versus Jonathan Gresham.
That's the exact match I would have picked. That's something I'm really looking forward to. That I think that's gonna have a totally different flavor from a lot of the matches on the A block entirely. So yes, very, very excited for that. And then I will go with, in the A block, from the bottom list of guys, I will say that I am excited for a match between... You know what I'm excited for? I'm excited for Tiger Mask against Kanemaru, the return match.
The Grumpy Man battle.
The Grumpy Man battle. That match was excellent last year, and even though it's probably not going to be as good as it was last year, I'm very excited for Tiger Mask and Kanemaru.
All right, so I'll let you go first for the B block.
Okay, well, it's real simple. I'm going to go with the big 2 because we saw this match WrestleMania weekend. It's got to be one of the most anticipated matches of the entire block. Bandido versus Will Ospreay. Run it. Give it to me. I want it.
Nice. All right. So Bandido, Ospreay off the board. I will go with El Phantasmo and Robbie Eagles.
Ooh, that's an exciting one. That's one that I definitely can't wait to see. Very excited for that. The next match that I would probably pick, I'm going to go with Ren Narita because I'm excited for Ren Narita in this tournament. And I'm going to go with Rocky Romero because I think it's the one match he has a good shot at picking up a win there. And Rocky Romero works a lot with these young lions. I think that that's going to be an excellent match. I'm going to go with Narita and Rocky.
Okay. Well, then for my second pick, I'm going to go with Yo and Bushi, just based off of the chemistry that those guys have had in their junior tag title matches.
That's almost the match I would have gone with.
With their whole, with, it was Bushi and Hiromu, and then Bushi and Shingo against Sho and Yo. So I think those guys could have a great matchup.
Excellent. So we've got a list here of notable match.
Real quick, so that kind of answered Rambo and Slam Pig's question, because he wanted to know, other than Sho and Shingo, what would be our most anticipated matches. So we kind of covered that. And then Howard Schilling asked, what match could be a sleeper match of the tournament?
Well, we talked about a lot of the matches that are most anticipated. If there's a match of the tournament that I think could be a sleeper match that people aren't talking about, I think that the one you mentioned between Skrull and Jonathan Gresham has a good outside chance of being a sleeper match of the tournament.
Yeah.
Or even, you know what else? Sho and Jonathan Gresham might be excellent.
Yeah. And that might get flashbacks of the Sho and Kushida. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to go through this kind of list of big matches to kind of keep your eyes out throughout the tournament. So first, on the opening night show of May 13, I talked about it being my most anticipated match, Shingo Takagi versus Sho.
Yep, arguably the most anticipated match of the tournament. We've got two bitter rivals meeting in singles competition for the first time ever. It's been built and built. It's the most built match in the entire tournament. Very excited for that.
Then we got Dragon Lee versus Taiji Ishimori also on May 13th. This is a rematch from Wrestling Dontaku. You know, I went 4.75 on that bad boy, so I'm hoping that they duplicate that.
Yep, that one was great the first time. The second match should be no different. On May 15th, we have Jonathan Gresham taking on Taka Michinoku, a dream match between two technical masters. That should be really good.
Yep. Also, then on the 18th, we got Shingo Takagi against Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Kind of like I mentioned with Yo and Bushi, Shingo and Kanemaru have worked really well together in their tag matches with LIJ against Suzuki-gun. So I think these guys have great chemistry and can pull off a favorite here.
Kanemaru really stepping up his game, as we mentioned earlier, and this being a main event of the evening has a good chance to get a lot of time, be a great candidate to be a great match of the tournament. On May 22nd, Will Ospreay is taking on El Phantasmo. Ospreay is looking to gain revenge from his Dontaku tag loss. We talked about the history between these two guys, and it's a main event in Korakuen Hall, so I don't know what to expect there. I don't know if Will Ospreay is going to put this guy over to really establish him in Japan, although you could say he already did that on the Dontaku tour, and now it's his chance to get his comeuppance and maybe make El Phantasmo look great in defeat.
Yeah. I have Ospreay winning that matchup. But yeah, this should be a classic and one of the best matches of the tournament. Then on May 23rd, like you mentioned, we saw this at the WrestleCon Super Show in April. Will Ospreay versus Bandido. That match was great at WrestleCon, and really looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be in front of the Korakuen Hall crowd. We know the Korakuen Hall crowd is great, and they're usually pretty hip on wrestlers and with the backstories and rivalries. So.
And I'll tell you what, it's going to be a better crowd than the Super Show crowd was, and it's a bigger stage with more eyes, a bigger audience. It's going to be a great match, and them having that sense of familiarity after working together once, that match could literally be like the Ospreay Ricochet of this year's tournament.
Yeah.
Then another notable match on May 23rd, same night, we have Dragon Lee taking on Shingo Takagi, which just sounds freaking awesome. So, I mean, that May 23rd show is going to be stacked.
Yeah. May 26th, we have Will Ospreay versus Robbie Eagles. We've been hearing about all the classic matches that both of these guys had against each other in Australia, and I feel like this is the match that can open the door for Eagles to becoming a star in New Japan. I feel like Ospreay is going to do his best to have a 5-star match with Eagles and put him on the map here.
Yep. This is the year that Will Ospreay gives back to the junior division. I mean, he always has, been giving a lot, obviously. But, yeah, he's got a lot of guys to make, and trust me, he's going to do it this year.
And Eagles is the one guy I have beating Ospreay in the tournament.
Hot take. On May 31st, Sho versus Jonathan Gresham. That was another match that I just recently mentioned. And, if you really loved the Sho versus Kushida match from last year, then You want to like circle this match. Show has showed his competence when it comes to working that style, and Jonathan Gresham's one of the best in the world. So it's going to be excellent.
Then on the 31st, we got Shingo versus Taiji Ishimori, which will potentially be the match that decides who's going to win the A block. So, former junior champion, juggernaut in the division, that should be one to tear the house down.
Yep, and then the final anticipated match of the tournament, Ryosuke Taguchi taking on Will Ospreay, which is a potential B block deciding match. I know we have differences of opinions on where Taguchi will be, but let's not forget that Will Ospreay and Taguchi was the finals of the Best of Super Juniors the year that Will Ospreay won this tournament, and that match was near 5 stars. So when we talk about big match Taguchi, and some people listening to this probably think I'm a stan for Taguchi. I'm not. Like I told you my anticipation level is pretty low. It's like a 4 for him. But if previous encounters tell you anything about what this match could be, this is one you might really want to. This could be a match of the tournament that really steals the show, and Taguchi can still go. So yeah, that's a big one.
All right, well that wraps up our Best of the Super Junior 26 preview. Good luck to everybody who's entered the contest, and good luck in trying to keep up with the tournament.
May the odds ever be in your favor.
Yeah. We're definitely, I know we're going to have to be on our A game with this tournament and keeping up with it, because there's a lot of matches, like we mentioned, like over 30 more matches this year than last year. So.
My God.
But it should be great, especially those nights where we're getting like 10 singles matches. That should be a different pace, and just some great shows.
Pray to God you don't drop that yellow cake. So we got some off-topic questions that we're going to wrap the show up with from Reddit user Maserati. What up, Maserati?
Yeah, Maserati, actually, he's has joined the writing side of Social Suplex, dropped a column last week, and is working on another column right now. So, Maserati, part of the team.
Well, based on this question, I can see he's been writing, because this is a long one, but I'm going to read the whole thing. Is it too controversial for me to think that Naito isn't at the level he needs to be to become the IWGP Heavyweight Champion? I get that he's crazy popular. If that's all it takes, that's fine, but not every match he has is a banger. He's had some rough matches with Suzuki, and sometimes his Destino looks a bit sloppy to me as a finisher. I feel like he's not exactly at the level I would expect of the next ace. In multi-man matches, the LIJ matches are my must-sees of the factions, but standalone, he has left me disappointed in some of his feuds. Also, I've gotten the impression with the recent push Sonata is getting that they're going to groom him for the main event spot later in case they completely give up on Naito before he gets too old or injured to become the next ace. Am I way off base here? Because I just like Naito. I think he's currently right where he should be at the main guy at the IC level.
Man, Maserati with the
fired
hot
off shots.
Take. He's trying to get the LIJ fans to unsubscribe from this podcast.
Shoot Sunday.
Yeah.
Shooting on a Sunday.
Oh, man. So what do you think?
I see where he's coming from, but I don't agree at all. Respectfully, I don't agree with this take. Now, he's not wrong in saying that, there have been times where Naito's had matches that didn't deliver. But who hasn't had that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you could point to other top wrestlers like your Tanahashis, your Kenny Omegas, your Okadas, and trust me, when I name those list of guys, those are not a list of guys that I hold in a higher regard than Naito. I think Naito is a top 10 best wrestler in the entire world. Who hasn't had off nights and who hasn't had matches that didn't deliver? Nobody. That's impossible. I get what he's saying, though. Some of those matches, especially the series with Suzuki last year, was very highly anticipated, and it didn't seem to deliver. But, dude, look at Naito's G1 run. Look at his series of matches with Okada. Look at his series of matches with Kenny Omega. Look at his series of matches with Tanahashi. Mm-hmm. He consistently delivers at the top spot. Look at his matches with Ibushi just this year. Naito is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Now, with that being said, I don't think Naito's ever going to be the ace of New Japan. I don't think he's gonna be the ace.
Yeah.
The reality is there's one ace. His name is Kazuchika Okada. He's gonna be the ace as long as he's at the top of the card of this company. It's gonna be quite a while before someone dethrones him, and it's not gonna be Naito.
Right. I mean, it's probably gonna be a good 10 to 15 years.
I don't know if it'll be quite that long, because if you look historically, there's very few guys who like are at the top, for that long. Even when you look at like Muto and Hashimoto and Chono, like they were still top stars, but they kind of got surpassed by guys and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with Inoki. So, but I think with how young and how great
That's what I'm saying.
Okada is, but in 5 years maybe, and I don't think Naito is ever going to be the ace. What I think Naito will do, hopefully, and should, I think Naito will get a main event level title run that people have been clamoring for. They want it. It's coming. I still believe in it, and it would be a huge misstep if that doesn't ever happen. And I don't think he's wrong in saying that Sonata is being groomed for a possible main event spot.
Yeah,
that's possible. But yeah, I think that you have to draw a clear distinction between a top-level heavyweight title run versus being the ace. Just because you're at the top with the title for a period of time does not mean you're the ace. Look at Kenny Omega.
Right.
Let's be very clear. Kenny Omega was not the ace. Yeah. When you talk about who the ace of the company, and I know that's a term that there's some confusion and fluidity when it comes to that, but your aces of the company were Tanahashi, then Okada, and that's where we're at, and there's been no in-between.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an in-between. There's not going to be until they start to push, Naito down, which is going to be a little while. But, I've had criticisms about the Destino and things like that, but the reality is Naito is one of the best wrestlers in the entire world, and he deserves what people have been pushing for him to get. And that popularity that's back behind him is part of the reason why he deserves that. Right. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if New Japan's trying to be money-tistic, I feel like Naito's a guy you put the IWGP belt on and you ride that popularity.
You put the belt on him and then he beats everybody.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Naito is so popular as it is without the IWGP title. Imagine what happens when he wins the belt. He's going to be at an all-time high of popularity. You're going to have continued, packed houses, sellouts. There's a big LIJ fan base here in the United States that's going to help with the Western expansion. So I feel like Naito is a guy that he can be at the main event level. And like you mentioned, with all his incredible 5-star and above matches that he's had over the years, I think it's a no-brainer to make this guy the champion.
To me, and this is not a perfect analogy, but if I had to draw a similar analogy, to me, if Okada is your Jumbo, then Naito's your Tenryu, and that's not a bad person to be. If Okada is your Mizawa, then Naito's your Kawada, and that's not a bad place to be. But make no mistakes about it, that's not a secondary upper mid-card act. We're talking about legendary, all-time, Hall of Fame, top-of-the-level card, a guy who can draw in any company, anywhere in the world. He's one of the best that has ever done what he does, and he's got the star ratings to prove it. He's got the merch sales, the drawing power to do it. Naito's the man. He's the man.
Yeah, I mean, they should belt him up eventually.
Yep. Next question from Will CMM on Reddit. He said, if we get Okada versus Naito for the IWGP Championship and then Ibushi versus Tanahashi for the IC title as the respective main events for Wrestle Kingdoms Night 1 and 2, what do you see Jay White doing? The US and Never are below him now, so do you think he will be in a special singles match? And if so, who with?
So I do think he will be in a special singles match, and if I'm Gato, I put him against the One-Wing Angel, Kenny Omega.
That's a possibility. One thing I could see Jay White doing as well is maybe working Jericho.
Yeah.
Potentially in the Dome. Anybody else that is high enough level?
I mean, depending how Ospreay does in the G1, maybe you do the Ospreay Jay White rematch.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Give him to Shingo.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know that those will be the main events of those nights, but you got to imagine Jay White's going to be doing something big, you know, and he's one of the top 5 or top 6 guys in the company. So yeah, I think that Kenny Omega is a possibility. I think, like we said, Jericho's a possibility. Will Ospreay's a possibility. Those are all possibilities for sure.
Yep. So last question comes from Muzza. He says, with New Japan increasing the number of competitors in the Best of Super Junior and New Japan Cup, could we see the same for other tournaments like the G1 Climax, the Super Junior Tag League, and the World Tag League?
I think possibly. Although this past year was weird. With the World Tag League, we had more competitors, but
One block. And same for Junior Tag League.
And the same thing for the Junior Tag League. I preferred, to some degree, I think I preferred the 2-block format for different reasons. I've said this for years now, and I'm going to keep saying it until they do it. I don't think the G1 Climax needs to be expanded for the competitor base unless they are going to split the blocks into multiple blocks. I think for business reasons, I think 4 blocks makes a lot more sense. I just do, because you can get more guys involved. You can have a less strenuous schedule for the guys that are working, and you can protect a lot more matches. One thing that people complain about in New Japan is how many times we see these guys compete against one another in repeated and recycled matches. But you can protect matches if you have, like, say, 6 guys in one block, 6 guys in another block, 6 guys in the other, and 6 in the other. And you can actually do 2 tours. You can actually run more shows, make more money, and have less repeated matches that way. That's what I would do. And then do an A block final between the 2 blocks, B block final between the other 2 blocks, and then have a final. That's what I would do. If they're going to expand it anymore at this point, there's no reason to. It's already, how many guys are in that?
Aren't there 10 guys in each block in G1? Yeah.
So just, if they're going to expand it to 12 each, they might as well just split it. Do six guys in one block, 6 guys in another block, and I still stand by this idea, and I don't know they'll ever do it, but they've changed the format so many times over the years that it's not impossible.
Yeah. And you've been mentioning that pretty much since the first time.
Since we started the show.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think I'd be down for it. So yeah, that wraps it up with the questions. Just a few quick news items here. So the New Japan World number is doing great. We got an estimate. This comes from the Wrestling Observer of 120,000. And so pretty much the big story here is that since Wrestle Kingdom, there has not been a decline in New Japan World subscriptions. So bringing in guys like Jericho has helped bring in Western fans to the product, and they've kind of stuck around with guys like Okada, Tanahashi, Naito, Ibushi as the top Japanese guys, and with English commentary for so many of the shows. So people can complain about bringing in Jericho, but it's a proven fact that he's bringing in New Japan World subscriptions, and they're actually staying.
Here's why this is interesting. There's been a trend in previous years. The trend usually is they get a high week for Wrestle Kingdom, and then people cancel their subscriptions, and there's a gradual decline, then a pickup for the G1, and then a decline, and then a new record usually gets set at Wrestle Kingdom annually each year. But this year is different in that there is no decline after Wrestle Kingdom. They set the new mark with these big matchups that they did, and then they've stayed steady with their subscriptions, which just kind of tells me, man, it's like, if you bring the people in for a big show, but then you continuously put on a great product, people will stick around.
Mm-hmm. Also,
it's not rocket science.
Also, the New Japan On Access ratings have been reported to be in the double digits since the move to most recent shows and having the feed with Kevin Kelly and who's ever commentating with him instead of JR and Josh Barnett.
Yeah, it seems to be that having more recent shows and having them updated quicker seems to offset whatever interest might have been lost by losing a lot of the elite guys and more well-known American stars. So people are still sticking around because they have a more current product that they're putting out on Access.
Right. It's not like, they airing matches like 3 or 4 months behind like they were at one point.
On May 6th, Kazuchika Okada threw out the first pitch at the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks game. Also, in other news, Taichi headlined his own show that he co-produced with Taka Michinoku. Show was on May 7th at Corkin Hall. He beat Ryosuke Taguchi 28 minutes and 4 seconds with the Black Mephisto in front of 1,270 fans at Corkin Hall. There's a couple other... I know in the opening of that show, Shota Umino picked up a win against somebody. I don't know who it was. And then one of the other co-main events, Taka Michinoku, I think he wrestled Rocky Romero. And then there was the death match that injured Desperado when he took on Jun Kasai, which... It's Jun Kasai. I mean, what do you want? Yeah. And finally, the last bit of news, Dominion tickets are available internationally now. So pick those up.
Yeah, so by the time you hear this, those Dominion tickets will be available. And so, that's going to wrap things up for this week. Next week, we'll be back to pretty much cover the first week of the Best of the Super Junior tournament and all the news in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. The show is at KI Strong Style. Also follow us at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also join us in the Wrestling Sports Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Sports Circle. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. You can check out all our other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Every other Wednesdays, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling. Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Thursdays, we have NXT Then, Now, and Forever with James Boyd. On Saturdays, we have All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr. and Amy Euler and the whole cast that Floyd's putting together there. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiba.
Niggas, disperse.
Scatter.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.